It really deserves to be the former royal family of North Blue, and the ability is really not bad. Akainu looked at the information in his hand and smiled at the corner of his mouth. The information on this piece of paper was the specific location of the Arlong pirates, and the source of the information was the Vinsmoke family. He discussed cooperation with the Vinsmoke judge. The Arlong pirates search is an incidental condition. After all, Lucas just came to North Blue, and the resources in his hand are relatively limited, and Akainu does not want to order other marine branches to do this. After all, Arlong is the condition proposed by Shichibukai Jinbei. If he blatantly kills Arlong, Jinbei, it's hard to explain there. He doesn't want to bother to come to the door, so naturally he doesn't want to do that. Let the Vinsmoke family do this. Naturally, there is no such trouble, but although the Vinsmoke family agreed to help him find people, it was limited to finding people, and he had to do the killing himself. There is a village named Carmel on the east side of North Blue. Since the Arlong pirate group was broken up by Marine, it has come to this small village on the fringe. The people who were brought from the first half of the Grand Line are now not even half of them. Arrive. Brother Arlong, have we been shrinking here like this? This village is so poor. At this time, the remaining fish people of the Dragon Pirate group are all gathered together, and there are only a few dozen people left. They are unwilling to recruit other members, so the entire pirate group has only so many people, with a small number and natural strength. They are weak, and there is Marine who wants to eradicate them, so they only dare to hide here and dare not go out. If they hide in a rich village, it's fine, but the village they hide in is very poor. Even if they have been suppressed in a vicious manner, the money they can get is still limited, so they have been very uncomfortable recently. It also produced a different kind of idea. Arlong cursed fiercely. These damn bastards have forced us from the Grand Line to here, but still don't want us to get better, huh? Although he cursed, he also knew that their power was very weak now, and they were not comparable to before. Now Marine must still be looking for us everywhere. Let the brothers bear with it, and when we get enough money, we will leave North Blue and go to East Blue to develop. Their original destination was East Blue, but they were forced to come to North Blue in the process, which led to the current situation. Now North Blue is very difficult to mix, so Arlong wants to leave here and go to East Blue. Humans are really too cunning, too treacherous. The fish people roared one after another. They were reduced to where they are today. They were all killed by humans. If their Captain Fisher Tiger did not die, they would never become what they are now. Believe in it. The fish people were full of melancholy and indignation, unable to vent. They could only trust in the wine, and a group of fish people took the wine and drank big mouthfuls. As for the small village under their rule, they did not dare to persecute, because it was originally a very small village with a population of only over 100 people. If they killed some more people, no one would make money for them. Therefore, the Murloc and pirates of the Dragon Pirates are all depressed. Although the wine they drink is very inferior, they also rise up to drink. They drink and sing at the same time. A melody peculiar to the Murlocs. Has Zauba not found it yet? While the other Murlocs were drinking and singing, Arlong whispered to Kruby beside him. Xiao Ba is the companion who followed him from the Pirates of the Sun to North Blue. He is a rare octopus among the Murlocs. It was just that when he was surrounded and suppressed by Marine last time, he was separated from them. So far it hasn't returned yet. Even though Arlong is so vicious to humans, he still cares very much about his own people, especially since the companions who came with him have already died so many. He naturally does not want anyone to die. This is why he has not been the first since he came to North Blue. The reason why Time robbed other pirate groups for turf. Kruby shook his head and replied, "No, I don't know where Xiao Ba went, and I didn't even find the mark we left. I'm not afraid of anything else. Just because he is caught by Marine, it will be troublesome." Ends. At this moment, suddenly a Murloc jumped up. He was one of the few Murlocs who did not drink. He immediately told Arlong, "Brother Arlong, I heard a lot of people are coming towards us." This Murloc is also a member of the pirate group. Because of his race, his hearing is several times higher than that of normal Murlocs, and he can hear sounds from hundreds of meters away, so he has always acted as a vent and caregiver. Candidates. What? Hearing this Murloc yelling, Arlong and the others who were drinking all stood up in shock. Arlong shouted, "Go and see who it is." Soon 2 Murlocs ran out to check. 10 seconds later, they came back and shouted nervously, "Brother Arlong, it's not good, it's Marine, many Marines, we are surrounded." Arlong's body trembled, still receiving a heavy blow. He shouted in anger, "How could this be? How did Marine know we are here?" The small village they are in is already extremely remote. It belongs to the kind of place where no one is concerned, and their behavior is also very low-key. It is reasonable to say that no one will find them, but now marine directly surrounds them. Obviously they have been found. And more, what's amazing is that the two Murlocs just said that marine has surrounded this place, and it is not so easy for them to leave. Marine's speed is very fast. Arlong and others are still in shock. Marine has already broken in, and the one who walked in the forefront is impressively Marine Admiral Akainu. Akainu. Seeing Akainu taking the lead, Arlong suddenly yelled in anger. He never expected that the leader of Marine would be Akainu this time. Two Murlocs who were watching outside were thrown in. Akainu looked at the angry Arlong and said, "Why, are you surprised to see me?" Arlong's face is extremely ugly, and he shouted at Akainu, "Akainu, you despicable villain, didn't you promise Jinbei to let us go? Are you breaking your promise now?" Akainu snorted disdainfully, "Who said I broke my promise? I promised not to kill you, but that only represents me personally, and if you are not evil, you will never change. Of course I can't be blamed." Akainu. Arlong roared. "Lost to Big Brother Tiger who treats you as a hero, you are a despicable villain." Akainu waved his hand and said, "Kill them." The marine soldiers who received the order immediately rushed forward, even if the fishmen struggled to resist, but there were only a few dozen of them. How could they be the opponents of Akainu's soldiers? Kill. Fight with them. Akainu didn't do anything, but the battle lasted only 5 minutes, and the only Murloc still alive was Arlong, and the rest of the Murlocs had been beheaded. Arlong was escorted to Akainu, and he still cursed miserably. "Akainu, you despicable villain, you humans are all scumbags, scumbags." Akainu's complexion remained unchanged, and said lightly, "As long as you can get rid of your dregs, I don't mind being a scumbag." Arlong's eyes widened. Until he died he didn't want to believe that he was killed so easily. Akainu didn't take a second look at Arlong's body. The soldiers under his opponent ordered, "Clean up here, and give all the treasures they snatched to the villagers in this village." "Yes, Sakazuki Admiral." Akainu walked out of here and stretched. Although he didn't do anything this time, he still received thousands of fear points, which were provided to him by the Murlocs before they died. "Jinbei, don't blame me. If you want to blame this Arlong. He killed so many people and I won't let him live easily." "Oh, I don't know if Arlong is gone. Will that little thief cat Nami be the navigator of the Straw Hat Pirates?" It was only Akainu who destroyed the Dragon Pirates group casually. Soon after destroying the Dragon Pirates group, he received an order from Naval Headquarters Sengoku. The world government in the Barreras Pirates had negotiated with him. The transaction was conducted 10 days later, but Diaz Barreros, the captain of the Barreros Pirates, was also very savvy and only willing to announce the location of the transaction on the day of the transaction. So in the next few days, Akainu didn't go anywhere, just waiting for news from Sengoku. In fact, he was also very helpless. He only remembered that Op Fruit was on an island, but it was that island. He really didn't have any impression at all. As for Corazon and Trafalgar Law who went to look for Op Fruit, he also asked Lucas to send people to look for it, but there was no news. However, he has found the warship of Vice Admiral Crane, and he has been staring at it. He can't find Doflamingo and others. He knows that Vice Admiral Crane will find it. This is the case in the plot, although the time is slower. On the 10th day, Sengoku finally told Akainu the exact location. The Pirates of Barreros was on Mignon Island east of North Blue, and the trading place was also on Mignon Island. "Jonathan, Lucas, immediately integrate the staff and we head to Mignon Island." Knowing the story of the pirates, he naturally knows the ownership of Op Fruit. If it goes slow, Op Fruit will be snatched by Corazon and Trafalgar Law. When Akainu led his people to rush towards Mignon Island, the Barreros Pirates on Mignon Island were also waiting for Marine's arrival. He had done a lot of preparations, but he didn't know this time Marine. Who will be sent? So I am still very nervous. After all, they are walking on the tip of a knife, and it is still related to the 5 billion Baileys transaction. However, they were absolutely defensive, and they were still unable to guard against it. Corazon, who had already received the news, took advantage of his fruit ability to sneak into their premises without knowing it, and stole Op Fruit. But after he got Op Fruit, he was too excited to expose himself and was hunted down by the Pirates of Barreros. "Sakazuki Admiral, Mignon Island is ahead. Is Op Fruit really there?" Lucas asked Akainu. Akainu said, "It can't be wrong, Op Fruit should be there, and we will go over immediately." Only after they had just landed on the island, they suddenly heard a burst of gunfire on the island. The sensitive Akainu and others heard it for the first time. The others did not react, but Akainu reacted immediately. He immediately changed his expression and said, "No, there must have been an accident at Op Fruit. Jonathan, Lucas, you guys immediately go to the bar." Everyone in the Ryu's pirate group is under control. I will go around the island to see if there is any suspicious person. Although I don't understand why Akainu immediately realized that Op Fruit had a problem after hearing the gunshots, they were very convinced of Akainu, so they didn't hesitate at all, and they rushed to the sea inside the island. The thieves' station. After everyone left, Akainu said with a gloomy face, "It seems that it is still a step too late." Op Fruit was still eaten by Trafalgar Law. Although he had guessed that it might be such a result before he came, he was still very upset after it happened. After all, Op Fruit's ability is really good. If he gets it, it will definitely be a big help. No matter what, I'll find them first before talking. Judging from the movement on the mountain, Op Fruit should have just been stolen for a short time, and Doflamingo has not yet appeared, so Luo and the others should have not left the island. The island of Mignon was not too big. He discerned the direction by the sound of guns and began to look for it. When Akainu began to search for Corazon and Trafalgar Law, not far from Mignon Island, a large warship was docked in the sea, coming in the direction of Mignon Island. Crane Vice Admiral stood on the bow of the warship, looking at the direction of Mignon Island ahead. His face became very heavy. How did the guy Sengoku get the news? He even made arrangements in advance, and let Sakazuki lead the team himself. Was it for Op Fruit? When Akainu received Sengoku's information, Sengoku also informed the Vice Admiral of the Crane who was chasing Doflamingo in North Blue, and asked the Crane Vice Admiral to go to Mignon. Because of the news, Doflamingo will appear on Mignon. Suru Vice Admiral, there is news from the front that a warship has entered Mignon Island. The courier ran over and reported to Vice Admiral in a loud voice. Hearing this, Vice Admiral suddenly appeared surprised and said, "It seems to be Sakazuki's warship, but he came very quickly." Mother-in-law, is the teacher here? Beside he Vice Admiral, Zhuan Yuan was standing with Lasana, who was talking to Lasana. After hearing the words of he Vice Admiral, she asked curiously. Crane Vice Admiral looked at Lasana and nodded with a smile. "Yes, your teacher is on that island now, and you will be able to see him soon." Regarding Akainu's transfer to North Blue, she naturally received information, but she didn't tell anyone else, so Lasana thought Akainu was here to perform the task. "Great!" Lasana exclaimed excitedly, "Mignon Island." After receiving Op Fruit, Corazon was injured, and after finding Luo, he immediately ate the Op Fruit to Luo, and then asked Luo to find Marine on the island for help, because he knew that Sengoku had already sent he came to Marine, so he felt that as long as Marine saw his information, he would immediately support him. Because his hometown was destroyed by Marine and world government, Luo didn't have any good feelings about Marine and world government. He didn't want to ask Marine for help, but seeing Corazon, who was so scarred and could fall at any time, he could only endure it. Feeling uncomfortable, I went to find Marine on the island alone. It can only be said that Luo's luck was really bad. He found several groups of Marines, including Marine led by Lucas, but he saw that these Marine soldiers were many people, and he was timid and did not dare to go. So he didn't ask for help, until he saw Virgo who was alone. He rushed out and handed the information to Virgo, and begged him to save Corazon. As an important pawn for Doflamingo to enter Marine, Virgo is now the commander of a branch base of North Blue. This time, in order to cooperate with Doflamingo, he also came to Mignon Island. Seeing Luo who came to ask for help, because he didn't know Luo's identity, he was still very kind and wanted to help, and followed Luo to where Corazon was. Corazon was injured and hid on the side. After he saw Luo bringing a Marine soldier over, he was first happy, but after he saw the person's face, his whole body was shocked and he yelled in horror, "Vil Ge." Virgo was also very surprised when he saw Corazon. He hadn't realized what was going on, but when he heard Corazon's exclaim, he immediately realized that it was wrong, because Corazon could not speak. Now he made a sound, and after contacting Luo to find him, he suddenly realized that something was wrong. Is Virgo's secret mission to sneak into Marine? This is bad. Corazon was desperate. Virgo was able to lurch in Marine for so many years, and he was an extremely smart person himself. After he discovered the problem with Corazon, he immediately knew the importance of the document in his hand, and he immediately opened the intelligence. "Do not want." Corazon yelled, trying to snatch the information, but he was seriously injured. How could he snatch it? He was kicked by Virgo at random, and then Virgo continued to watch the information. After reading the information, Virgo's face became extremely gloomy, and he walked towards Corazon with cold eyes. "If this information falls into Marine's hands, our family will be over. Rosinante, you can't help but know this, but you still did." With murderous intent on his face, He walked towards Corazon step by step. At this time, Luo realized that he had caused a big disaster, and guessed that the person in front of him was the first generation of hearts of Don Quixote family, Virgo. He saw that Virgo was about to fight. Corazon rushed over with excitement. Boom. Virgo didn't even look at Luo, and continued to walk towards Corazon, torturing Corazon as casually as a puppy. After beating Corazon half to death, Virgo walked towards Luo again, knocked Luo stunned, and dialed the phone worm. Jonathan and Lucas went to the Barreros pirates on Akainu's orders, but when they arrived, they found that a group of people had already taken a step ahead of them. The thieves were killed, and then he discovered that this group of people turned out to be the famous Don Quixote family in North Blue, and their boss, Doflamingo, was also on the scene. Now that they found the Don Quixote family, it was naturally impossible for Jonathan and the others to let them leave and immediately stop them, but without Akainu's order, they did not immediately launch an attack. Young master, it's Marine. Doflamingo and they just killed the people of the Barreros pirates. They found that a group of Marines stopped them. They thought they were the Marine Crane Vice Admiral's troops who had been chasing them, and they didn't wait for them to see the lead Jonathan. After meeting with Lucas, it was discovered that this was not the case. They had never seen this group of people before. Marines' movements are really fast enough. Doflamingo snorted coldly, then shouted to Jonathan and the others, "Marine, get out of me now, or you will all be killed." People who are not from Vice Admiral, he naturally doesn't care. North Blue's Marine hasn't made them fearful. He is the Doflamingo Sakazuki Admiral was looking for, but he did not expect to appear here. Lucas first introduced Jonathan, and then after hearing Doflamingo's yelling, both of them showed anger. Doflamingo is rampant in North Blue, and they are the elite troops following Akainu across the Grand Line. How could I be scared by the mere Doflamingo? Doflamingo, I am Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral Jonathan, under the command of Marine Admiral Akainu. No matter what your purpose is here, surrender now, maybe we will spare your lives. Originally arrogant Doflamingo, after hearing Akainu's name, his face changed drastically. The cadres such as Toripal behind him were also shocked. They did not expect that the Marine unit they encountered it was actually a unit under Marine Admiral Akainu. How could it be from Marine Admiral Akainu? Doflamingo was very surprised. Dover, the opponent is Marine Admiral, it's not easy to deal with. Diamante whispered in Doflamingo's ear. Doflamingo's face was gloomy, and after thinking for a while, he said coldly, "What about Marine Admiral Akainu? Now the most urgent thing is to find Corazon and Luo first. As for the rest, it doesn't matter." After finishing speaking, he immediately shouted to Jonathan and the others unhappy, "I don't care who you are, get out of me immediately, otherwise you will all die." In fact, according to his previous character, wherever he would say such nonsense, even if it is Marine, he will not take it seriously, and he will definitely kill it directly, but the group of Marines in front of him is different. They are Marine Admiral Akainu's people. If they really fight, it would be very unfavorable for them to provoke Akainu. He knows that Akainu is now in North Blue, and a Vice Admiral Crane is already very difficult to deal with. If you add another Akainu, their family may really be destroyed. But how could Jonathan and Lucas be scared off by Doflamingo? They followed Akainu, even Whitebeard dared to fight. How can they care about a small Doflamingo? Doflamingo, let's say it again, we'll catch it immediately, otherwise don't blame us for being ruthless. Doflamingo doesn't want to fight, but Jonathan and the others don't have so much scruples. Although they brought very few people this time, they were all elites selected by Akainu, in the eyes. Doflamingo is used to being domineering in North Blue. When he is so despised, he will do it immediately when he is angry, but at this moment, the phone worm on his body suddenly rang. He stagnated, hesitated, and then took out the phone worm. When he saw that it was the phone worm, his expression suddenly changed, and he stepped back a few steps to let other people block him before connecting to the phone worm. Then he communicated with Virgo on the other side. After Virgo dialed the phone worm, he first briefly said a few words, and then talked about the situation he encountered Corazon and Luo. Hey, he shouldn't die yet. Doflamingo was overjoyed when he heard that Virgo had actually caught Corazon and Luo, and then asked. Virgo said lightly, "There is still a breath." Hearing this, Doflamingo's face suddenly became gloomy. Although he was angry that Corazon had taken Luo away, he still cared about his own brother. He was naturally very angry when he heard that Corazon was injured. "What is the problem?" Virgo said, "Corazon is Marine's spy to frame you, so he stayed in the family. I intercepted his information and learned about their plan. Where are you now, Dover?" "I'm on Mignon Island now." Doflamingo glanced at the opposite Marine and said coldly, I finally know why this is happening, Virgo. I'm confronting Marine now. These Marines say they are Marine Admiral Akainu's subordinates. Do you know what happened? In fact, he had discovered something wrong earlier. There were a few warships gathered near Cayenne Island, where they converged. So he didn't go there, but came directly to Mignon Island, but he did not expect to meet Akainu. People. What? You met someone from Akainu? Wilgo also looked shocked, he said. Although I got news that Akainu was transferred to North Blue, but I have never seen it. Did he really come here? Did you see him? Doflamingo said. No, I just saw people claiming to be his subordinates, but didn't see him in person. Virgo said solemnly. Dover, if you meet Akainu, it's best not to fight him and retreat immediately. Doflamingo frowned and said, is he really so good? Virgo said. I'm afraid it's more powerful than you think. It's not time for our family to fight against him. Anyway, Corazon and Luo have fallen into my hands. The goal has been achieved. Just in case, we should retreat as soon as possible, for good. He is a person who has seen Akainu with his own eyes, and he is also a disciple whom Zephyr values, so he still knows a little about Akainu. He knows that this is not when they are fighting Akainu. In a few years, when they develop, Doflamingo becoming stronger, there may be a chance, but it is definitely not possible now. Doflamingo asked, is Akainu really that strong? Forget it, just leave him alone, Virgo, you are optimistic about Corazon. I just learned that Op fruit has been snatched away, and that person is Co Larson. Be optimistic about him, I'll be here soon. When Doflamingo was talking with Virgo, Jonathan and Lucas did not attack, but negotiated in a low voice. Jonathan, do you want to notify Sakazuki Admiral immediately? This Doflamingo is also one of Sakazuki Admiral's goals. Since I found out, I can't let him leave, Lucas whispered. Jonathan thought for a while, and said, don't worry, Sakazuki Admiral should go looking for Op fruit. If it really starts to fight, he will definitely find it here, so you don't need to notify, wait and see. What he said, wait and see. Naturally, they are watching Doflamingo. They are not in a hurry, because the island will soon be surrounded by their marine, and the people from Vice Admiral are also quickly approaching. The longer the delay, the more they will be treated. Advantageous, so he is not worried at all. Lucas understood what Jonathan meant, so he told his men not to rush to do it, and observe Doflamingo's actions. Once they had the intention to withdraw or do it, they would do it the first time and never let them leave. I see, Dover, Corazon, I'll be optimistic. After saying this, Wilgo's face suddenly changed, he turned his head suddenly, and suddenly saw a scene that shocked him. Akainu. Seeing him in front of him, Corazon stood up without knowing when, carrying Luo on his back and preparing to escape, but there was a figure standing in front of them. This burly and tall figure was Marine Admiral Akainu. Virgo Wanwan didn't expect to see Akainu in this place, so he couldn't help but exclaimed. Virgo. What are you talking about? Akainu, have you seen Akainu? Doflamingo on the other side of the phone worm heard Virgo suddenly exclaimed and couldn't help asking loudly. When Virgo saw the phone worm in his hand, he wanted to hang up immediately, but at this moment, Akainu not far away said coldly, Virgo, if I were you, I wouldn't hang up. Worm, because that is meaningless. It was obviously snowy, but Virgo was sweating on his forehead, holding the phone worm in his hand, listening to the voice of Doflamingo opposite, not knowing whether it was better to hang up or not to hang up. Akainu? Marine Admiral Akainu? Virgo's exclamation was naturally heard by Corazon. He originally wanted to use his ability to take Luo to escape while Virgo was talking. He was shocked that this person was actually Marine Admiral Akainu. Are you really Marine Admiral Akainu? Corazon asked nervously. This man was tall, with a serious face, wearing a military cap and a marine coat. He really looked like a marine general. Akainu looked at the man in front of him and the boy on his back, and immediately guessed who they were, Corazon, Rosinante and Trafalgar Law. First Marine Admiral, Akainu. Very good. Kolasan yelled excitedly. Although he has not seen Akainu, he has heard Sengoku talk about Akainu. He knows that Akainu is one of the most powerful people in Marine. With Akainu's existence, he doesn't need to flee at all. Akainu Admiral, I am the undercover agent arranged by Marshal Sengoku in the Don Quixote family. This Virgo is not a real Marine. He is the highest cadre of the Don Quixote family in the first generation of hearts. He sneaked into the Marine and has an ulterior secret. After knowing Akainu's identity, Corazon immediately told Akainu everything he knew. Virgo's face was violent, and if it weren't for fear that Akainu was here, he would have rushed over to take Corazon down. Listening to Corazon's excited words, Akainu responded indifferently, I know. You know? The excited Corazon was stunned, not only him, but Virgo was also stunned. Akainu said faintly. Yes, I know, I'm here to solve him. As for you, you said you were an undercover agent arranged by Sengoku. Do you have any proof? Also, my goal here this time is for op fruit, but op fruit was stolen in advance. I want to know what happened? Both Corazon and Virgo's expressions changed. Corazon was because of op fruit, and Virgo was because of what Akainu said. Akainu had known his identity a long time ago. You said you knew my identity and came to solve me. I want to know, how did you know? When things got to this point, Virgo knew that he couldn't keep it, but he was really puzzled. How did Akainu know his identity? Did you just know it, or did you know it a long time ago? Akainu said to Corazon, your business will be discussed later, I will solve him first. Then he said to Virgo. Do you think you are hiding very secretly, and no one knows your identity? I have known your identity a long time ago, but I haven't said anything about it, just for this day. Don Quixote family, catch it all in one go. Virgo's face changed drastically, and he immediately shouted to the phone bug. Dover, our plan has been known by Akainu. You take people away, hurry up. As he spoke, he backed away quickly, but Akainu was faster and rushed over. After Virgo finished speaking, regardless of the yelling of Doflamingo, he was about to squeeze the phone worm. Although Akainu was fast enough, he couldn't save the phone worm. He could only watch Virgo squeeze the phone worm. Pausing, Akainu looked at Virgo coldly and said, do you think this will save him? With a cold snort of disdain, Akainu didn't worry about Virgo's escape at all, took out a phone bug, and after dialing, immediately ordered. Doflamingo is on the island. If you meet him, let him come to see me immediately. Just say that the people and things he wants, including Virgo, are all in my hands. It was Jonathan's phone worm that he dialed, but to his surprise, the opposite Jonathan said, Sakazuki, it's a coincidence. We have already met Doflamingo and are confronting them. Akainu said, then it would be better. If you tell Doflamingo directly, if they want to escape, give me your best to stop them. If they don't escape, then you will come with them and I will be. I know, I'll tell him now. Jonathan responded. Doflamingo over there was shocked by Virgo's words and heard Marine Rear Admiral on the opposite side suddenly shouting. Doflamingo, I'm Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral Jonathan, and now our Sakazuki Admiral has captured your people and got them. I have what you want. If you want it, immediately follow us to see Sakazuki Admiral, he is waiting for you. Hearing Jonathan's words, the members of the Don Quixote family all became very nervous. They all looked at Doflamingo. Toripal asked, Dover, what is going on? They also knew that Doflamingo was on the phone with Virgo, but Doflamingo's drink just now, except for a few people, the rest of them didn't know what was going on. Now that they heard what Jonathan said, it was naturally very strange. Doflamingo looked gloomy and said, Vilgo caught Corazon and Luo, but he also met Marine Admiral Akainu, and Akainu seems to have known his identity. They may have already fought. Virgo told us not to fight Marine. Retreat immediately. What? Toripal and others were shocked. They didn't expect such a dramatic change in things. Virgo caught Corazon and Luo, but they were met by Akainu again. Akainu actually threatened them, if you want people and things, go see him now, it's a coincidence. Dover, what should I do? Doflamingo's face was gloomy, and the development of things was too far from what he expected. He didn't want to fight Marine Admiral, but in this situation, it is not so easy for him to retreat. The opposite Marine has been staring at them. Moreover, both Corazon and Luo are in Akainu's hands, and Virgo may not necessarily be Akainu's opponent, and may be caught by Akainu. These three are extremely important to him, and none of them can be given up. We seem to have no other choice now. In that case, let's go to Marine Admiral Akainu for a while. I want to see if he is really as good as the legend. You said, will Doflamingo come? Akainu stared at Virgo who was backing away, and asked flatly. Virgo's face became very ugly. With his understanding of Doflamingo, Doflamingo will come in all likelihood. It is true that Doflamingo is cruel, but it is not unfeeling. Now all the people and things he wants are here, even if he knows. The opponent is Marine Admiral Akainu, and he will definitely come. Originally, he was not going to fight Akainu and wanted to choose to escape, but now Doflamingo will bring people over, so he can't leave. Akainu didn't worry about whether Doflamingo would come. Instead, he looked at Virgo and asked, Virgo, you said, if Teacher Zephyr knew that you were an undercover agent sent by Doflamingo to Marine, what would you do? Wilgo's face changed suddenly. Although he firmly believed that what he had done was correct, he could think of Zephyr's importance to him, and he also felt sorry for Zephyr. What's the use of saying these now? Dover is the king of heaven. Only he can become the king of the world. We assist him and overcome difficulties for him. This is what we should do. Virgo said loudly. The king of heaven. Akainu sneered disdainfully. If you have conqueror's haki to be the king of heaven, then I think I am more qualified than him. As he said, an astonishing haki erupted from his body, and all the snow around him was shaken by his haki. There was no wind, and an astonishing storm was formed. As this? How is it possible? Virgo watched this scene in disbelief. He knew that Akainu had conqueror's haki, but he only heard about it and didn't see it with his own eyes. At this time, seeing Akainu's haki so strong is really shocking, even though he has already I haven't met Doflamingo for a while, but he knows that Doflamingo's haki is definitely not as strong as Akainu. Corazon, who was carrying Luo on the other side, was also shocked and speechless. This momentum was too terrifying, much stronger than Doflamingo, and he finally understood why Akainu was so famous. Virgo, if you can catch it, I might make you suffer less, Akainu said. Virgo, as always, was expressionless, and said, I want to see how strong Marine Admiral is. I saw him stripping off his upper body clothes, revealing a strong body, and the next moment, his body was completely covered by armament haki. Seeing Virgo's haki covering his whole body, Akainu was also surprised. Looking at the entire pirate world, there are definitely very few people who can train haki to this level like Virgo, even if they are. He used the haki fruit of the system to cultivate armament haki to this level. As you wish. Akainu gave a cold shout, and also covered armament haki to deal with a Virgo. It was not worth his full effort, so he used the same armament haki to attack him. Boom. The fighting methods of the two are based on absolute power, and the attacks they launched are naturally confronted by power. Although Akainu has fought with many people before, but like this kind of pure power against haki opponents, besides Garp, this is Virgo, so he was excited, just like you I punch me with one punch. Akainu punched Virgo's body, then changed his fist into a palm, and shot 3 consecutive palms on Virgo's body. Although the strength of the continuous 3 palms did not reach the ultimate, it also caused Virgo to be beaten back and forth. Naturally, Virgo was not to be outdone. He jumped in front of Akainu, moving his hands and feet, his fists and legs attacked Akainu's body continuously, and Akainu also slapped his palms to block Virgo's attack, and then turned his palms into claws. Pressed it on Wilgo's shoulder, and pulled it vigorously. What? Virgo wailed in pain. Although there was armament haki, Akainu also had an armed color, and Akainu's strength was stronger than him, so he was able to break his arm. Holding his arms and backing quickly, Virgo looked at Akainu in horror. Although he knew that Akainu was very strong, he did not expect that Akainu was so powerful that he was beaten into it without the ability to use it. In this way, he also knew that he would never be Akainu's opponent. Crack. Virgo restored his arm, which was injured. This time he did not dare to attack first, but looked at Akainu vigilantly. Virgo's strength surprised Akainu. He knew that Virgo could be regarded as the top presence in Marine Vice Admiral more than 10 years later, but now Virgo is not the Virgo of 10 years later, and his strength is comparable to average. His Marine Vice Admiral, coupled with his good at armament haki, I am afraid that even the average Vice Admiral will not necessarily be his opponent. Virgo has been under his hands for 7 or 8 minutes. Although he did not use his ability, this is also a very remarkable skill. That's it. After playing for so long, Akainu estimated that Doflamingo and the others were almost there, so he didn't want to delay any longer. Seeing that Akainu's hands had begun to turn into magma, Wilgo suddenly felt uncomfortable. Akainu, who was not able to use the ability, could not be beaten. If he used the ability, he was even less likely to be an opponent, so his first reaction was get away. Shave. Virgo moved his body and quickly disappeared from where he was, and when he reappeared, he was already tens of meters away. Moonwalk. After pulling the distance, he used Moonwalk to fly again, leaping continuously, trying to jump to the mountain in front of him before he fell. Magma suddenly appeared under Akainu's feet, all the surrounding snowflakes were melted, and the magma eroded the ground, rushing forward, forming an underground magma passage underground, and Akainu quickly turned into magma. Boom. The speed of the magma is much faster than that of Virgo. It obviously moved behind, but a lava fire pillar formed in front of Virgo, directly blocking Virgo's path. Akainu emerged from the magma, and a dark hound blasted out directly. Virgo in midair didn't even have a chance to dodge. He was hit by this blow and hit the ground from the air, but Akainu didn't let him go. Instead, he threw another punch in the air. Great eruption. The great eruption that fell from the sky blasted above the ground, and a huge deep pit was blasted out. The magma eroded the ground, and Virgo could barely be seen in the magma. Boom. Akainu fell on the ground. Looking down, the magma formed a giant hand, grabbing Virgo's body. I have to say that Virgo does have some ability. Even at this level, his armament haki has not faded, but even armament haki cannot stop Akainu's lava punch. Now Virgo has already lost. There is not much strength. Throwing Virgo to the ground. Looking at Virgo, who always used armament haki to protect himself, Akainu said lightly, "Armament haki is not a panacea. When my haki is stronger than you, your haki can't save your life." He had already moved to kill, and said, "If you are a real marine soldier, maybe I will get you under my subordinates, but unfortunately, you are only an undercover agent, so even if you are killed, you can't blame it. Anyone can only blame himself for being inferior to me." With that, his right hand turned into magma again. What's more terrifying is that black appeared on top of the actual magma. Wilgo, who was very familiar with armament haki, was shocked when he saw this scene. "You covered haki above your abilities, how can you reach this level? Die." Akainu slammed a punch, and saw that the fist of magma was about to hit Virgo's body. Spider's web wall. A huge spider web made up of countless transparent silk threads appeared above Virgo. Akainu's magma fist hit the spider web and it shook. Although these threads were quickly burned by the magma, it was also with the impact of a punch. When the remaining magma was about to hit Virgo, Virgo's body was already pulled away. Boom. A pothole appeared on the ground. Akainu's complexion remained unchanged, and he looked up in the direction where Virgo flew, and saw Virgo flying in the air, and finally landed on the ground safely. Next to him, there was an extra man. This is a man with short blonde hair, sunglasses, a pink feather coat on the upper body, cropped trousers and pointed leather shoes on the lower body. He looks very weird and complicated. He is tall, almost the same height as Akainu. Doflamingo. Although it was the first time I saw this man, Akainu guessed his identity at once. Doflamingo wears glasses so that others can't see his eyes, but his heart is not calm at this time, it is very heavy. "You are Marine Admiral, Akainu?" It was the first time the two met. Akainu was okay, but after seeing Akainu, Doflamingo immediately regarded Akainu as his life enemy. "Dover, be careful, this guy is too strong. Virgo's vitality is really very tenacious. He was beaten like that by Akainu. He was able to stand up and fade armament haki. He could also see many bruises in his upper body, all of which were beaten by Akainu." Doflamingo looked at Virgo. He knew very well about Virgo's strength. Even in his entire family, he was the only one who could beat Virgo, but since they talked to the present, it was only 10 minutes before Virgo was defeated. It came quite quickly, otherwise your subordinate Virgo would be dead. Although Virgo was rescued, Akainu didn't care at all. Instead, he stared at Doflamingo and said. Doflamingo said, "Even if you are Marine Admiral, you can't kill my family." After finishing speaking, he didn't care about Akainu, and looked at Corazon on the other side, his eyes cold. "Corazon, I really didn't expect that you, as my own brother, would turn out to be Marine's spy and want to get rid of my brother. I really underestimated you before. You have completely changed. From the moment you killed your father, there has been no brotherhood between us." Corazon leaned towards Akainu unconsciously. He was seriously injured, and now only Akainu can keep him. Doflamingo's eyes flashed with anger, and being betrayed by his relatives was the most unacceptable to him. "Before I killed you myself, tell me where is op fruit?" Corazon said loudly. "Don't be delusional, you can't get op fruit anymore." Doflamingo laughed furfurfur and said, "I know, since you got the op fruit, you must give it to Luo. You always wanted to save his life, right?" Coralson's face changed, and he looked back at Luo, who hadn't awakened, and his expression was very tangled. At this moment, Akainu suddenly said, "Since he is from our marine and I am present, naturally no one can move him. What's more, Doflamingo, you still worry about yourself now. I am not going to let you leave here alive. An island. Do you want to kill me?" Furfurfur. After Doflamingo heard Akainu's words, he couldn't help laughing, his face full of sarcasm. "Killing you is like slaughtering a dog." Akainu didn't wait for Doflamingo to speak, but directly bullied himself up. The magma spurted out and rushed towards Doflamingo. Doflamingo didn't expect Akainu to be so straightforward. He said that he would do it. He quickly stepped back, avoiding Akainu's blow, and flicked his fingers continuously. Swish. I saw that Akainu's body was cut by pieces of blades, and there were wounds on his body, but the strange thing was that there were so many wounds without a drop of blood flowing out. The red magma gathered together, and soon again recovered. It's annoying Logia. Doflamingo snorted very uncomfortably. His attack was difficult to prevent. He wanted to make a surprise attack, but he didn't expect to be avoided by Akainu using elementalization. Burning river rock. Dozens of magma fireballs spit out from Akainu's mouth and attacked Doflamingo in all directions. Doflamingo also reacted very quickly. His hands kept shooting lines to attack those magma balls. Although his lines were fierce enough, magma was not an ordinary object. After contact, he can burn his line, so he can only change the attack direction of the magma ball, but cannot destroy the magma ball. An amazing lava fist fell from the sky, even if Doflamingo tried to avoid it, but the lava fist locked him down, giving him the feeling that he would be hit no matter where he hit. This is observation hockey. Doflamingo itself has observation hockey, so after having this feeling, he didn't feel anything strange, but he was convinced that Akainu must also use observation hockey. Folding his hands together, Doflamingo used his full power and Spider's web wall appeared. Before the lava fist came, his front was covered with spider webs. Boom. The fist of lava was blocked by the spider webs on one side, but the spider webs on the other side were quickly melted. In the end, the fist of lava destroyed the indestructible defense in Doflamingo's view and directly hit him. Doflamingo flew upside down like a kite with a broken line. Dover. At this time, a large group of pirates ran over. They were members of Doflamingo's Don Quixote family. On the other side, they quickly rushed out of a group of Marines, which were the Marine forces led by Jonathan and Lucas. Dover, are you okay? It was Pika, his highest cadre holding Doflamingo. His voice was extremely sharp, sharper than a woman, and very unpleasant, but in this weird tone was full of concern. Doflamingo wiped the bloodline from his lips and said, "It's okay, but this guy is really terrifying." The defense he used with all his strength, not only was unable to defend, but he himself was also hit. If he didn't use Hockey's bodyguard at the last minute, he might be injured more seriously. He was wounded in a single blow. This was the first time Doflamingo made his debut. He had never been so embarrassed. Is that guy Marine Admiral Akainu? The pirates of the Don Quixote family gathered together. Before, Doflamingo rushed over as quickly as possible, while the rest followed behind, guarding Marine and covering Doflamingo. At this time, all of their eyes were focused on Akainu, who could hurt their young master. Most of them saw it for the first time. When their eyes touched Akainu, all of them couldn't help feeling the tremendous pressure. A strong person at the level of Akainu has a kind of intriguing aura. In addition to his powerful conqueror's hockey, even if he does not deliberately target anyone, those who look at him will be suppressed by his aura. This is the so-called strong man. Enclose them. There are dozens of pirates in the Don Quixote family, but there are more Marines. Akainu took hundreds of people. After hearing Jonathan's order, they immediately surrounded everyone in the Don Quixote family. Sakazuki, what do these people do? Jonathan asked Akainu. Akainu didn't answer him immediately, but asked Corazon behind him. Are the people here just all the members of the Don Quixote family? Corazon replied. No, but the cadres of the Don Quixote family are basically there, and the rest are just trivial little ones. He has been in the Don Quixote family for so many years and is very familiar with the members of this family. Akainu nodded, and then said to Jonathan, send a signal to Vice Admiral at once, let them come here, Don Quixote will be destroyed this time. When they came to Mignon Island, they had already contacted Vice Admiral and the others. He knew that Vice Admiral and the others were not far from here. The reason why he waited is to give him Vice Admiral's favor. After all, they have been chasing Don Quixote family. If these people don't say hello to her, they will be killed by him, which will make Vice Admiral look unsightly. Maybe she doesn't care, but her subordinates must care very much, so he is going to wait until the Crane Vice Admiral and others come, and then do something with Doflamingo and others. His idea is good, but Doflamingo is not a fool. He saw Marine encircling them, but did not attack. He guessed what Marine might be waiting for. This was also their opportunity. He immediately said to the cadres around him, we have fallen into the trap of Marine. The next thing to do is to escape here as quickly as possible, get on the boat and escape, so don't fall in love with the battle, and retreat while fighting. Although it was just a fight against Akainu, he already knew that he and others were definitely not Akainu's opponents. After all, the cadres under his command were strong, but the Marine under Akainu would not be weak. They were certain can't take any advantage, only to escape here is the best choice to preserve strength. There is naturally a special signal connection in Marine. Jonathan took out a signal grab and shot it into the air. Suddenly a red signal flare flew into the air, staining the sky above it red. At this moment, Doflamingo suddenly shouted, do it. In an instant, The members of the Don Quixote family surrounded by Marine attacked the Marine that surrounded them. But they are facing troops that have experienced many battles. These are Akainu's private troops. Perhaps the single combat power is not as good as most of them, but the combat power of the military formation is much stronger than theirs. At the moment they acted, all the soldiers had already reacted. The first thing was to shoot the troops. They shot at almost the same time. Many of Don Quixote's pirates were hit by bullets. Akainu said to Jonathan, "Leave Doflamingo to me, and the rest to you. Remember, don't let one go." Originally, he was going to leave them to the Vice Admiral of Crane. Since Doflamingo did it first, he would not be polite and immediately responded. Doflamingo has been observing when other people are working on it. When he saw Akainu walking towards them, he suddenly became nervous. For him, although the group of Marines in front of him may be very powerful, Akainu was the only one who could give him a fatal blow. "Go away." Seeing Akainu's hands, several pirates rushed towards him, but how could these people stop him and be thrown into the air by one of his punches? His target was only one, Doflamingo. A western sword suddenly appeared in front of Akainu. It was obviously a sword, but it became like a snake. It stabbed at him with twists and turns. In the blink of an eye, there were several swords, all of which hit. The sword stabbed Akainu, but it is a pity that Akainu is a capable person, and it didn't hurt Akainu at all. Seeing that the attack failed to injure Akainu, Diamante was not surprised. He continued to attack, and this time fully demonstrated his abilities, only to see that the ground suddenly became like cloth silk, and it was shaken. Akainu, who was standing on the ground, also shook with the ground. Diamante wanted to use this ability to force Akainu to lose weight and fall, but to his surprise, Akainu did shake with the ground, but his feet seemed to be rooted and stable. Nailed to the ground, no matter how much he shakes, he can't knock Akainu down. It's really annoying. Akainu originally wanted to solve Doflamingo, but was stopped by Diamante halfway, feeling very upset, and turned to look towards Diamante. "Go to hell." Suddenly, a sharp sound rang, and then several huge stone spires suddenly appeared on the ground under Akainu's feet, which instantly penetrated Akainu's body. "Young master, I'll trap him, you hurry up and attack him." The stones on the ground gathered together and turned into a stone giant, enclosing Akainu in the middle. Doflamingo saw this scene, but exclaimed, "Pika, go back, he is a Logia ability, you can't hurt him." But his reminder was obviously slow. Akainu, who was pierced by a few stone spikes, shouted angrily, "One after another, it's really annoying. Since you can't wait to find death, then I will do it. You." Great eruption. Pika turned into a giant stone man. Although his destructive power became stronger, it also made his target bigger. Akainu's great eruption directly smashed his entire body of the giant and hit the stone. The Pika in the middle smashed Pika into the air. The dog bites Gurren. Melted his arm into a dog's head shape, forming an amazing assault technique, and instantly came to Diamante. Even if Diamante quickly used his cloak and ability to resist, it was still the same as Pika. Was smashed into the air. Bang, bang. Pika and Diamante hit the ground at the same time, causing a burst of smoke. Two attacks brought down the highest officials of the two families, and the members of the Don Quixote family all showed awe. "Pika, Diamante, how are you two?" As the young master, Doflamingo must stand up at this time. He blocked Akainu and asked Pika and Diamante behind him. Because of the great movement caused by Akainu, the pirates of the Don Quixote family stopped breaking through and gathered again. Jonathan ordered the soldiers to continue the siege and aimed all their weapons at the pirates. Pika and Diamante slowly stood up from the ground, and Pika shook his head and said, "Young master, I'm okay, but I was slightly injured." Diamante also said, "I'm okay, even if the cloak is ruined, there may be scars left behind." The two of them are the highest cadres of the Don Quixote family. They may not be as good as Virgo, but they are not as good as Akainu's one-shot kill. So after taking Akainu's one shot, although they were injured, the two of them were still able to stand up. Also still retains combat effectiveness. Suru Vice Admiral, a flare peculiar to naval headquarters, appears on Mignon Island. When Jonathan sent the signal flare, the Marines near Cayenne Island, not far from Mignon Island, had discovered it, and immediately reported it to the main general's crane. Suru Vice Admiral looked at the signal flares rushing to the sky, but did not speak. The Xianyuan next to her said, "This is a signal flares that only the head school will have. It is not the one we sent out. It must be the signal flares sent by Sakazuki Admiral. Did Sakazuki Admiral meet a strong opponent? It's no wonder she is surprised. Generally, most people who send out this red flare are for help, but now it is Akainu's Marine. Is there any opponent in North Blue that Akainu is embarrassed for? This is what makes her strange. In fact, the root cause was not Akainu, but Jonathan, because he only carried this kind of flare, so Akainu asked him to send a signal, and he naturally sent out this flare. However, Vice Admiral is not surprised at all. She said, "This is not a signal for help, but it is for us to go to Mignon Island. It seems that the intelligence is not wrong. They should have encountered the Don Quixote family." Zhuan Yuan is also a smart person. Upon hearing this, she immediately understood, and said, "I know, he knows that Don Quixote family is our goal, so he only notified us after he found out." He Vice Admiral said, "She wants to pay back our favor, let's go with him. Doflamingo should not be able to escape." She has been chasing Doflamingo for a long time. As a result, she did not meet Doflamingo. Instead, she was met by Akainu. If you change to another person, she will definitely be very upset. However, Vice Admiral belongs to the kind of indifferent fame and fortune, so I didn't care at all, but felt a lot easier. At the order of the Crane Vice Admiral, the warship swiftly moved towards the direction of Mignon Island, very fast. Akainu, hand it to me first, you break through. Doflamingo knew that if he delayed any longer, he might not be able to break through so easily, so he knew that he was not Akainu's opponent, so he still wanted to stop Akainu. Akainu walked towards Doflamingo step by step, Doflamingo who always despised his opponent. When facing Akainu, he felt very heavy, staring at Akainu intensively, not daring to relax at all. At this time, Akainu is no longer weaker than the Akainu in the comics during the war period, and Doflamingo is far worse than the later him, and the strength is naturally far worse than Akainu, so Akainu does not put him too much in his eyes. Dropping ruffian string. Doflamingo knows that he is not Akainu's opponent, so he takes the lead in attacking, not to defeat Akainu, just to create opportunities for others to break through. As for himself, as long as others can successfully break through, he will have confidence to leave, even if the opponent is Akainu. In the face of Doflamingo's attack, Akainu didn't do any evasion at all, letting the 5 forked silk threads slash his head and cover his face, cutting his body into several halves, but after a second, he returned to his original shape. Doflamingo has strong abilities and strong control abilities. However, when he met Akainu, his strength could not be used at all. Although he can also armament hockey, he did not use it to cover his abilities. To be precise, he still without reaching the level of perfection. You can't make a silk thread at will to cover armament hockey. If it can't cover armament hockey, then the silk thread he made is naturally impossible to hurt Akainu, even if it is lethal. Akainu is a Logia-capable person. The reason why the Logia ability can be called the strongest among the 3 devil fruits is because of its incomprehensibility. Unless you use seastone weapons or armament hockey, no matter how strong you are, you can't hurt your ability. Needless to say, defeat and injure the opponent's body. Doflamingo is very ambitious and likes to control everything, so he fits his fruit abilities very well. Against ordinary opponents, he is naturally invincible, but against Akainu, he cannot control everything and his abilities cannot be effective, so in the end there can only be one way. Boom. Without any additional actions, Akainu simply punch out. In the same way, no matter how much Doflamingo's attack changes, facing Akainu's fancy punch, he can only take it head on, because Akainu has already locked him completely. If he avoids, his family members will be out of luck. Although Doflamingo is arrogant, his strength is indeed there. After receiving Akainu's punch from the front, he only took 2 steps back and even kicked Akainu. Akainu grabbed Doflamingo's foot, and the powerful force flung Doflamingo into the air. Then he chased him up and kicked Doflamingo again, kicking him from the air to the ground. Seeing Doflamingo face to face, Akainu beat him like this. The pirates of the Don Quixote family screamed nervously. Several people attacked Akainu and rescued Doflamingo regardless. Fur. It's just that they heard Doflamingo's iconic laughter before they rushed to Akainu's face, which made their feet stop, and then looked over. As expected of Marine Admiral, it's really a monster. Doflamingo slowly got up from the ground. He was punched by Akainu, but because he had armament hockey and his physique was very good, he didn't suffer any injuries, but he was a little bit angry. Dover, how are you? Toripel came to Doflamingo's side and asked. Doflamingo said, I'm fine. Toripel said, these Marines are different from ordinary Marines. It is difficult for everyone to break through. You must think of other methods, otherwise the loss will be very serious. It's not that he cares about the lives of other people because he is kind-hearted, but because these people are their team. If they lose all of them here at once, how long will it take them to regroup? Get out of the way. Doflamingo pushed Toripel away, and he himself quickly dodged. After they dodged, a cloud of magma fell on where they were just now. This guy. Seeing Akainu being so aggressive, Doflamingo was really upset. When has he been bullied so much? Akainu looked at Doflamingo coldly. If it weren't for paying back Vice Admiral's favor, how could he have been so haunted? He would have gone up to level the Don Quixote family. At this time, the pirates of the Don Quixote family staying on the pirate ship by the sea sent them a message. A pirate whispered in Doflamingo's ear. "Young master, our people have detected the naval headquarters warship that has been chasing us before. I'm almost approaching the island at this time. What should you do?" Doflamingo sneered. "HMPH, it seems that Marine is going to take me down this time. I didn't expect that I had been in North Blue for so many years, and finally was calculated by Marine. Marine Admiral Akainu, it really deserves its reputation." Although he realized that he and others might have nowhere to go, he was not desperate and seemed calm. "Send them a letter. Let them leave first, and store everything in the stronghold. I have my own way to get out." He knows the current situation very well. There are not many people left on the boat. It is impossible to rescue them from Marine's siege, so it is better to let them leave immediately, leaving the Green Hills without worrying about burning wood. "Yes, I will reply to them immediately." The pirate immediately picked up the phone worm and began to deliver orders. And Doflamingo is for everyone else to gather and stand with him. Doflamingo's behavior surprised Akainu, but it was just what he wanted. He asked Jonathan and the others to just besiege each other and not attack. This scene is really weird. Both parties obviously want to die, but they both stop fighting and stare at each other vigilantly. Da da, da da. There was a sound of neat footsteps, and then Akainu and the others saw a group of Marines approaching them quickly. "It's Senior Crane's army," Jonathan said. "Crane's status and qualifications in Marine are very high, so many people respect her as a senior, and Akainu sometimes does the same." "Dover, the Crane of Naval Headquarters, we are surrounded." Doflamingo and the others also noticed the appearance of the Crane Vice Admiral troops. Except for Doflamingo, the rest of the people are showing nervousness. One Marine Admiral Akainu has made them difficult to deal with, and now they have added another Crane. The odds of winning, even Toripel and others who trusted Doflamingo, had their eyes flickering, and they didn't know what they were thinking. Doflamingo said, "I know, don't worry, I have a way to stay in the Green Hills, not afraid that there will be no firewood." To continue resisting at this time is undoubtedly seeking his own way of death, so he has already figured out how to deal with it next. Except for the top officials who know Doflamingo's identity, the rest of the pirates do not have that much confidence, and their faces are full of despair. Color. Senior Crane. After seeing the crane, Akainu said in a very friendly manner, "I came here to trade op fruit. I happened to meet the pirates of the Don Quixote family. I knew you were hunting them down, so I surrounded them." Crane Vice Admiral nodded and said, "Thank you, Sakazuki." When the two were talking, the others were afraid to interrupt, but Lasana was an exception. She jumped out very happily and asked Akainu, "Teacher, why did you come to North Blue? Tell me." Akainu smiled and patted Lasana on the head, and then said, "I have a mission here, and I will stay here for a while. You will learn from Senior Crane, which will be of great benefit to you. In the entire Marine, there are not many people who can admire him. He Vice Admiral is one of them. He has become one of Marine's giants as a woman. This is not something that everyone can do." "I know, teacher, don't worry." Lasana's expression is serious. She is a very obedient child in front of Akainu. Akainu asked Suru, "Senior Suru, the members of Don Quixote are here, what should I do?" Crane did not decide, but looked at Akainu and asked, "What do you think should be done?" Akainu's eyes flashed coldly and said, "Kill." This answer did not exceed Crane's expectation. She turned her gaze to Doflamingo and said, "If you are a normal pirate, you will be killed if you kill it, but Doflamingo is different. He has a special identity." Akainu naturally knew the identity of Doflamingo celestial dragons, but instead of showing it, he asked, "Oh, how special is his identity, so that we can't kill him?" Crane did not answer, but went straight to Doflamingo. "Finally met. Crane, you chased me for so long, and today you can finally achieve your goal, fur. Even though he was heavily surrounded by Marine, Doflamingo was still strong, and he was not at all shocked by the situation in front of him. Instead, he smiled and greeted Vice Admiral. Crane said coldly to Doflamingo, "Doflamingo, you have committed all kinds of crimes in North Blue. There are too many guilt. Now you have no choice. You can catch it with your hands. Come back to Naval Headquarters and accept punishment." Doflamingo chuckled and said, "I don't have any opinion, but I just don't know what Marine Admiral thinks. Just now he couldn't wait to kill me." He Lang said. Put away your useless tricks, Doflamingo. Don't think you can do whatever you want with your special status. Doflamingo narrowed his eyes and said, it seems that you really know some secrets. If this is the case, I am willing to obey your decision, and I will go back to naval headquarters with you. Little Lord. Hearing Doflamingo's words, the pirates of Don Quixote all looked at him in disbelief. Doflamingo waved his hand and said, listen to my order and put down the weapon. I promise you will be fine. Others didn't understand why Doflamingo did this, but Virgo and other top officials understood what he meant, so they all put down their weapons and stood behind Doflamingo. The other pirates hesitated when they saw this, too. Made the same choice. Doflamingo smiled and said, if you see it, all of us are willing to catch it. Come on, take us to naval headquarters. He had already thought about this decision before. He was just surrounded by marine, and there was Akainu who could not be confronted, and there were cranes on the sea and others. He knew that he could not run away, so he immediately thought about retreating. There is only one best way he can think of, and that is to catch him. He has the identity of celestial dragons and also controls the secrets of the celestial dragons. So even if Marine catches him, as long as he tells his identity, certainly no one would dare to do anything to him. He was just preparing to do this, but he didn't expect to know his identity before he could speak, but this was exactly what he wanted, and there was no need to spend time explaining so much. Put him on sea stone shackles. He turned around and ordered to Zhuan Yuan. Zhuan Yuan immediately let people take out sea stone shackles one by one and walked to Doflamingo and the others. Seeing this scene, Doflamingo's face suddenly became gloomy, and he said coldly, we have all promised to go back to naval headquarters with you and bring us sea stone shackles. What does this mean? Once they put on the sea stone shackles, if something unexpected happens, they will have no room to resist, so Doflamingo will be so angry. But Crane said coldly, this is our marine rule. If you truly surrender, you must do that. If you don't do this, then we can only continue to fight. Doflamingo's face was pale, and the pirates behind him all shouted angrily. Young master, we are all ready to get caught, and they even insulted us so much, fighting with them. Yeah, young master, the people at Marine are the most unbelievable. If they repent, wouldn't we become fish on the chopping board? Toripal also had a runny nose, and said, Dover, Marine's people really can't believe it. Who knows if they will go back? If we wear sea stone shackles, we really can't do anything. Virgo also said, although Crane is abiding by the rules, other people may not be abiding by the rules. Dover, you have to think clearly. Doflamingo whispered, now we have no choice. If we disagree, we can only fight, but you have seen the situation, we have no chance of winning at all. Suddenly, the opponents were speechless, and the facts were in front of them. If they disagree, Akainu and Suru can solve them all with their strength. Everyone is in shackles. Now they have no choice but to take a gamble. Doflamingo is very confident in himself. To be precise, he is confident in his identity as Celestial Dragons. Although he has been expelled from the Celestial Dragons clan, he holds the company in his hand. The secret that Celestial Dragons are afraid of, he believes that even Celestial Dragons would never do anything to him. Looking at Doflamingo who was shackled by Seastone, Akainu asked Suru, is it that simple to let them go? Crane said, Doflamingo's identity is very special. The people above don't want him to die, and we can only capture him alive. Akainu snorted coldly and said, no matter what his status is, the fact that he is a pirate can't be changed. Just letting him go would be too unfair to the people who were killed by him. Crane looked at Akainu incomprehensibly, and asked, what? After so many years of Marine, can't you see this through? It's just very unhappy. It so happened that Doflamingo came over and saw him looking at Akainu disdainfully, and said, Akainu, although you are Marine Admiral, you are the same. Some people are not what you can compare. Boom. Before he finished speaking, Doflamingo was smashed by Akainu for 4 to 5 meters and fell to the ground. However, Akainu didn't use much strength this time, but for Doflamingo, who was locked by Seastone, his strength was strong enough. Kakuzu cracked his left mouth. Quiet. Little Lord. The pirates of the Don Quixote family all glared at Akainu, and then helped Doflamingo up. Ignoring these hateful glaring gazes, Akainu said coldly to Doflamingo, since I have chosen to become a prisoner, I must have the consciousness of a prisoner. Doflamingo wiped off the bloodline at the corner of his mouth, his eyes were angry, but suddenly he turned to laugh again. Fu Furfur, Akainu, I am really happy to see you like this. You obviously want to kill me, but you can't do that, don't you feel aggrieved? To shut up. Crane Vice Admiral's face became cold, and she yelled at Doflamingo, and then she said to Akainu, Sakazuki, This person can't die, you should be careful. Although she wants to keep Doflamingo, Doflamingo's tongue really makes her uncomfortable. She has reached this point, and she actually provokes Akainu. She knows what character Akainu is. But to her surprise, Akainu didn't do anything this time, but showed a mocking expression. Doflamingo, I really don't understand. Why on earth do you have a face to smile? What gives you so much confidence? Make you dare to talk to me like this, really thinking I dare not kill you? Doflamingo smiled and said, for, you just dare not kill me. Akainu shook his head, not angry, but said with a sarcasm, Doflamingo, I thought you were a human being, but I didn't expect you to be such a trash and surrender with such confidence. You are also the first person in history. The smile on Doflamingo's face suddenly converged. Akainu slowly walked towards Doflamingo. The pirates of the Don Quixote family saw Akainu's actions and thought he was going to be against Doflamingo, so they all came around quickly and wanted to be in front of Doflamingo. Go away. Akainu screamed, and the amazing haki appeared from him. They were all pirates with seastone. They were overwhelmed by Akainu's haki. They all couldn't help but retreat, consciously giving way for Akainu. Sakazuki's haki has become stronger again. The crane sighed faintly when he saw this scene, but he couldn't see the happiness, anger, sorrow or sorrow. On the contrary, the members of the Don Quixote family looked at Akainu in horror. They couldn't breathe under such a terrifying aura, and they couldn't raise the idea of confronting Akainu at all. Ignoring these pirates, Akainu walked up to Doflamingo and looked at the rebellious Doflamingo, full of mockery. I heard Virgo say that they are loyal to you because you are a natural king. Ha ha, a king who surrenders confidently. This is the first time I have seen you, how about you? Doflamingo's face turned into pig liver color. He didn't expect Akainu to taunt him in this way. But Akainu didn't care about his expression at all, and continued. The true king is fearless and never surrendered, and you? A coward who surrenders. Dare to say that he is a king. I know who you are, but what about still can't change your cowardice? Facing me who is stronger than you, you can't raise the idea of resistance. You have lost the spirit of the king. There is a word that is more suitable to describe you now. The weak. Every time Akainu said something, Doflamingo's face looked ugly. When it came to the last word for weak, Doflamingo was still hit hard and couldn't help taking 2 steps back before turning to an angry roar. I am not weak, Akainu, I am going to kill you. Boom. As soon as he rushed to the front of Akainu, he was smashed into the air by Akainu again. Doflamingo, who was incapable of ability, was like an ant in front of Akainu. Little Lord. The pirates exclaimed, but they were detained by marine soldiers led by Jonathan and Lucas, making them unable to participate in the duel between Akainu and Doflamingo. It is not appropriate to say that duel, to be precise, it was Akainu who beat Doflamingo. Akainu kicked Doflamingo who had gotten up, and stepped directly on his chest, stomping him under his feet. Are you the king underfoot? What? Doflamingo couldn't resist, he let out an angry cry, his eyes fixed on Akainu. He had never resented a person so much after so many years. The Akainu in front of him is now the person he hates most and wants to kill. Now he regrets the choice he just made. If he hadn't been handcuffed by Seastone, he wouldn't be so abused by Akainu now. It looks like you are not convinced, Akainu asked. Doflamingo roared angrily. If I wasn't because I was handcuffed, why are you so arrogant? Akainu pulled out a sneer at the corner of his mouth, and said, it seems that you are really not convinced. Okay, I'll give you this opportunity. He turned his head to look at Zhuan Yuan, and said, Zhen Yuan Rear Admiral, can you please open his seastone shackles and let me see how bold he is? Zhuan Yuan looked at Akainu. Although she admired Akainu's haki, it was not her turn to decide the matter, so she looked at Suru. Crane frowned and asked Akainu, Sakazuki, it's almost enough, do you have to do that? Crane Vice Admiral's face. Akainu still wants to give him, he said, Senior Crane, don't worry, I have a sense of measure and will not kill him. He looked at the sharp-edged Akainu, Haki Wushwang's Akainu, she was also very helpless. Her personality was relatively indifferent, and she didn't want to cause such troubles, but seeing Akainu's persistence, she could only nod her head helplessly. Zhuan Yuan put the key in Akainu's hand. Akainu took his foot from Doflamingo's body, then dropped the key on the ground, and said, I've given you the key. After opening the seastone shackles, you have 2 choices. Try to escape. Or you can get back your dignity one-on-one with me, you decide for yourself. Although Doflamingo suffered a catastrophe as a child, he has never been so humiliated after gaining strength. He grabbed the seastone key on the ground, gritted his teeth, and hurriedly opened his sea stone shackles, and dropped it on the ground. Suddenly, he felt the strength return to his body, which was hundreds of times better than just being weak and weak. The power is back. Thinking of the scene of being humiliated and trampled by Akainu just now, there is only endless anger in his heart, and he never thought of running away, staring at Akainu stubbornly. Akainu said, "It seems that you have made a choice. If so, then you can come and use all your power. Don't make me feel boring." Now he is indeed qualified to look down on everything, at least in front of Doflamingo, he is an absolute advantage. Marine, the pirate, everyone looked at Akainu and Doflamingo. At this moment, the two of them were the absolute protagonists. Dover has no chance. He has lost his mind. Before he started playing, Virgo could not help but sigh. He was defeated by Akainu, so naturally he knew Akainu's strength. Although Doflamingo is better than him, he will definitely not be Akainu's opponent. What's more, now Doflamingo already irritated by Akainu, anger might make him stronger, but the opponent is more powerful than him. Over time, it is a weakness. What are you talking about? Dover is invincible. He is the incarnation of evil, and he is a natural king. How could he be defeated? Toripal did not agree with Virgo's words, but instead yelled angrily. Virgo glanced at him indifferently, and did not speak. Pika and Diamante, both of the top officials, were silent. Unlike Toripal's self-confidence in Doflamingo, the two of them were on the contrary. Some are biased towards Virgo, although they also hope that Doflamingo can win, but in the face of absolute power, the dream cannot become a reality. After a few minutes, bang, bang, bang. The pirates of the Don Quixote family couldn't help closing their eyes, because it was too miserable, and their young master was abused too miserably. Doflamingo's current strength should be a bit stronger than the General Marine Vice Admiral, but it is also limited, while Akainu is an Admiral level strong, coupled with the advantage of ability, so Doflamingo can still play a few tricks against Akainu at the beginning, but after a few minutes, he was only abused. Akainu didn't keep his hands either, and all greeted Doflamingo's face. Even with the armament hockey body, Akainu's nose and face were still bruised and swollen. "Why, are you just this capable?" Akainu asked sarcastically. Doflamingo roared and rushed up again, but was still beaten up and beaten again. "It's still too early. If you listen to me and leave as soon as possible, there may be a chance." Seeing that Doflamingo was beaten by Akainu with no power to fight back, Virgo thought to himself that he felt that Doflamingo made the wrong choice this time. Doflamingo has the aura of celestial dragons, but they don't. This is the most important thing. The problem is, Doflamingo hasn't realized it yet. Not only Virgo, but the rest of the pirates in the Don Quixote family are also desperate. The young master, invincible in their eyes, was beaten so miserably, defeating their hopes. Fear score from Buffalo. +254. From. The pirates of the Don Quixote family even started to provide Akainu with fear points. Apparently all of them were frightened by his violent beating Doflamingo. "Sakazuki, it's almost done. If you continue to fight, he will die." Suru Vice Admiral stepped up to stop Akainu in a timely manner. Her goal was to bring Doflamingo back to naval headquarters and hand it to Sengoku. As for how Sengoku disposes of it, it doesn't matter to her. Before that, he could not let Doflamingo have an accident. Hearing Suru's words, Akainu stopped. The reason why he abused Doflamingo in this way was not to abuse Doflamingo, but to destroy Doflamingo's confidence. A king who owns Conqueror's hockey, if he doesn't even have confidence, it is not a king. Doflamingo was handcuffed again, and the Marines escorted members of the Don Quixote family onto the warship. Of them, Doflamingo was naturally escorted to the warship where Vice Admiral was located, because he was the main target, and the others were at the request of Akainu. Down, they were all locked up on the warship he was on. Because Lasana saw Akainu, she boarded the warship where Akainu was on with the consent of Crane. After the Crane boarded the warship, he immediately called Sengoku, who was far away from the Grand Line. "I am Sengoku. Sengoku, it's me." Hearing the voice of Crane, Sengoku on the opposite side immediately asked, "It's you, Crane. Call me at this time, should you have important information?" Crane said, "All members of the Don Quixote family have been arrested. The leader Doflamingo is now on my boat, but according to what you said, because of his special status, I did not deal with him. What should I do now? Send him to the Grand Line." "Oh. Did you catch Doflamingo?" Sengoku was surprised when he heard this. Crane replied honestly. "To be precise, it wasn't me who caught him, but Sakazuki caught him on Mignon Island, and now he is handed over to me." Sengoku said, "It doesn't seem to be what I expected. Their goal is indeed op fruit." Sakazuki did a good thing this time. It was a great achievement to eradicate Don Quixote family. He said, by the way, there is another person. He was originally a member of the Don Quixote family, but according to him, he is the undercover you sent to Don Quixote. The name is Corazon. Is that true? Sangoku suddenly asked nervously, is he okay? Crane said, I almost died. If Sakazuki hadn't arrived in time, it seems that he was really your undercover, but Sakazuki said that the op fruit that the world government wanted to get was handed over by your undercover, Cola. Under him, a kid named Trafalgar Law ate it. Sangoku didn't expect this to be the result. He was silent for a while before he said, I know, you tell Sakazuki that this matter will end here, and I will take care of it myself. Colason is his adopted son and his own, but op fruit is the fruit that the world government wants, and it was eaten as a result. He must pay a certain amount of responsibility for this matter. Fortunately, it is a little bit. That is, Corazon is okay, for his son, he is very important. As for Doflamingo, his status is special, even I can't execute him, but he has done so many bad things, and he can't let him go on recklessly. I will find a way to send him to Impeldon. Like most people in Marine, Sangoku has no good feelings for celestial dragons, but there is no way. Whoever makes celestial dragons represent the highest power in the world, even the world government must give them face. He is the Marine Marshal under the world government. Can't be more powerful than 5 elders. Just make your decision, I will do what you think. He did not have any comments. On the Akainu side, both Jonathan and Lucas were very curious and asked Akainu, Sakazuki Admiral, what is the identity of Doflamingo? Why don't you kill him? Akainu said, celestial dragons, to be precise, are the celestial dragons expelled from the celestial dragons clan. What? That guy is celestial dragons. Both Jonathan and Lucas were shocked. Celestial dragons are the most noble race in the world. This pirate is actually celestial dragons, which is incredible. Akainu said, it's nothing strange. Celestial dragons is also a human being. Although he was expelled from the celestial dragons clan, his identity is celestial dragons after all. So even if he becomes a pirate, he cannot be killed casually. It's also the reason why Senior Crane didn't let me do it. In this case, it's not surprising. Then both of them were shocked, because Akainu knew that Doflamingo was celestial dragons, but still dared to beat him up in front of so many people. If it was them, it would not necessarily have this courage. Lucas said, if Doflamingo is celestial dragons, wouldn't it be that Marshal Sangoku wouldn't deal with him? Akainu snorted coldly, and said, with our Marshal's personality, it's almost impossible to kill him. The biggest possibility is to lock him up, but... He did not go on, but Doflamingo has some hole cards. If he threatens the world government once, he might be released. Therefore, he must prepare with both hands. In fact, at the beginning, he had a chance to kill Doflamingo, but thinking of the consequences of doing so, he hesitated again. After all, although he is now Marine Admiral, his identity is still not as good as celestial dragons. Kun. Under the danger wall, before you reach your goal, it is better to act low-key. The consequences of killing Doflamingo are too serious. Doflamingo can't be killed, but other people are different. They don't have the protection of celestial dragon's aura. A cold light flashed in Akainu's eyes. When Doflamingo surrendered before, he thought of a wonderful way to deal with the next change. In the cabin on the bottom of the warship, Akainu sat on a chair, staring coldly at the 4 people in front of him. These 4 people were the 4 highest cadres of the Don Quixote family, and they were also the foundation for Doflamingo when he founded the family. Toripal, Virgo, Pica and Diamante. It was the 4 of them who found Doflamingo and were attracted by his conqueror's haki, so they decided to assist Doflamingo and help him ascend to the throne. The reason why they are so obsessed with the people who own Conqueror's haki is because they have been defeated by the strong who own Conqueror's haki, and in the end only 4 of them are left. That's why they have such a strong obsession with Conqueror's haki, even if it is 1 step. They did not feel annoyed at all by training Doflamingo 1 step at a time. Now that more than 10 years have passed, Doflamingo has lived up to their expectations and has become stronger and closer to the direction they thought, so they are very satisfied. But they never thought that because of the appearance of Akainu, everything they had was in vain. Now Doflamingo and them are captured by Marine. Doflamingo has the aura of celestial dragons. It may be fine, but they can. It's a big trouble. They didn't think about fighting to death before, but they really couldn't make up their minds, because they were not sure at all. On the contrary, if they believed Doflamingo, there was still a little hope. Those who didn't want to die would naturally have to follow Doflamingo. Toripal, Virgo, Pica, Diamante, the highest cadre of the Don Quixote family, second only to the existence of Doflamingo, I'm right. Akainu stared at the four of them and asked coldly. The three of Virgo did not speak, but Toripal said with a smile, Marine Admiral Akainu, it's amazing to investigate us so clearly, but even if you know all this, what about? What can you do to us? Akainu looked at Toripal, who was obviously thinner than before, and his eyes were full of disgust. After this guy's ability was locked by Seastone, he still looked like a runny nose, but it was more than 10 years later than in the comics. With a thin bamboo pole, Toripal's body shape is pretty good at this time. Seeing that you trust him so much because of his former Celestial Dragon's identity who has been expelled from the Celestial Dragon's clan. Well, this identity can indeed save his life, but you would not naively think that his identity can save him. Come to you guys? What do you mean? Tory Bolton's face became very ugly when he asked nervously. He was confident in Doflamingo. But doesn't it mean that he is not afraid of death? Listening to Akainu's tone, it is obvious that he wants to act on them. Akainu looked cold and said, what do you mean? It seems that you still don't realize what your situation is. You are now the fish on the chopping board. Killing you will definitely not cause any problems. The complexions of the four of Toripal's faces turned ugly, and Toripal exclaimed. If you dare to do something with us, Dover will not let you go. Dover is Celestial Dragons. If you can use the power of the world government, even if you are Marine Admiral, you can't provoke him. He won't let me go. This is the funniest joke I've heard this year. Akainu laughed disdainfully. Let alone Doflamingo has been expelled from the Celestial Dragons clan. Even if he is still Celestial Dragons, wanting to deal with himself, it is not so easy. This Toripal doesn't know where his confidence comes from. Akainu, you have said so much, what is the purpose? Wilgo asked suddenly. Among the four, Toripal's strength is the weakest, mainly as a military commander. Diamante and Pika don't use their brains very much. They mainly exist as combat effectiveness. Virgo has not been discovered as an undercover agent for so many years. He is also an extremely smart person. Akainu said, finally, there is a smart person. In fact, you guys are still useful to me. The meaning of bringing you here is very simple. I want you to surrender to me. What did you say? As soon as these words came out, all of Toripal's four were shocked, and then they even loudly said, what are you kidding? I'm joking. Why, you can be loyal to Doflamingo, that trash. Why can't you be loyal to me? I don't believe you can't tell. No matter how you compare, he is not as good as me. As for what you think of the king's qualification, he is even a few blocks away from me, and you have also seen it. Akainu said quietly. The weak surrender to the strong. It is not a shame at first. Doflamingo is over. Unless you want to die with him, consider whether to die with Doflamingo, or surrender to me. The expressions of the four Toripals suddenly became very strange. They were more than loyal to Doflamingo. In fact, they put themselves on the same level as Doflamingo. After all, Doflamingo can have its current status. It benefits them, so if they are truly loyal, they are not as good as the pirates who later joined the Don Quixote family. Now that Doflamingo and them are all captured, they still have some hesitation in their hearts. After all, Akainu is right. It is Doflamingo who has the aura of Celestial Dragons. Now they are all in the hands of Marine. If Akainu really wants to kill them, Doflamingo will not rescue them by any means. Give you 5 minutes to think about it, and I will come back in 5 minutes. I hope you can give me a satisfactory reply. After speaking, he actually left the cabin, which was left with the Toripal quartet. For 2 minutes after Akainu left, the four of them didn't say a word. Compared with Doflamingo, the four of them have known each other for the longest time. They discovered Doflamingo and became the earliest Don Quixote German member. How to do it? Diamante was the first to speak. As soon as he spoke, Toripal yelled at him. What do you do? We are a member of the family. We want to help Dover become king. That guy is just one Marine. What qualifications do we have to surrender? Diamante said. That being said, we are now prisoners. It is not easy to save our lives. Virgo said. Akainu is a hawk in naval headquarters. His methods are extremely harsh. I have no doubt that what he said is really possible to kill us. As for Dover, he is already unable to protect himself. Not to mention saving us. Virgo, are you crazy? You have been a Marine undercover agent for a few years, and you have forgotten your identity. We are a family. I believe Dover must be able to save us. Pika said in a sharp voice. I also believe that Dover can save us. I don't want to die, let alone die in the hands of Marine. We have more ambitious goals. We can't die halfway. Diamante said. If you want to achieve your goals, you must first live. Toripal said. I firmly believe that Akainu has no guts to kill us. Don't forget that Dover still holds the secrets of the world government and celestial dragons. Akainu is just the marine admiral under the world government. Is it more powerful than celestial dragons? 5 minutes later, Akainu walked into the cabin on time. The time is up. How are you discussing? The four of Toripal looked at each other, and then he replied, we agree to submit to you, but how do you ensure our safety? We are pirates after all. You, Marine Admiral, can't let us go for no reason, right? And after we surrender to you, how can we do things for you? We won't be Marine, right? Akainu said, you think a lot. You haven't begun to surrender. You have already considered so much. Do I have to feel fortunate that I got 4 such good men at once? Toripal chuckled and said, of course, the 4 of us are. Puff. Toripal looked at the blade pierced into his body in amazement, raised his head, and looked at Akainu incredulously. Why? Akainu held the hilt of Ryujin Jaka's knife and said faintly, I forgot to tell you. My eyes are sharp. Are you really surrendering or pretending to surrender? I can tell at a glance. If it's someone else, maybe he will be allowed to jump around for 2 days, but you, seeing you feel sick, so I can't hold on. Withdrawing Ryujin Jaka, Akainu looked at Toripal 4 with disdain. Toripal. The 3 of Virgo supported Toripal, and Akainu's sudden attack also shocked them. It turns out that the result they just discussed was a surrender, pretending to take refuge in Akainu to save their lives, and then find a way to rescue Doflamingo, or do other things. But what they didn't expect was that Akainu, who spoke well at the beginning, changed his face in an instant, and he acted mercilessly. Fear score from Toripal. +514. Toripal was really frightened by Akainu, that is, Akainu hadn't faced his heart just now, otherwise, he would be dead now. This made him deeply aware of the horror of Akainu, and Akainu really dared to kill them. Not only Toripal, but the Virgo trio were equally shocked. The threat and what happened were completely different. Akainu threatened them before. Although it made them think a lot, they were not really afraid, but now they see Akainu. Starting without mercy, this fear has turned into panic. He really has a murderous intention. If we don't surrender, he really might kill us. These thoughts all came up in the 4 people's minds. Among them, Toripal was even worse, but they didn't understand at all. How exactly did Akainu determine that they were surrendering? You have to know that they have just reached the end. No verbal communication. Akainu said lightly, actually, I don't care if you can surrender. I just want to give it a try. This is the only chance for you to survive. Since you are not sure about it, don't blame me. Raising the Ryujin Jaka in his hand and aiming the blade at the 4 people, the 4 of them clearly felt the astonishing killing intent. And many more. Toripal, who was the most opposed, suddenly yelled. Although he was injured, he did not lose his language ability. He paled and said to Akainu, I am willing to surrender. I am willing to surrender. Hurry up and save me. Although he was not stabbed to the fatal point, but if he kept bleeding like this, he would bleed to death sooner or later. He didn't want to die, so he could only choose to surrender. Akainu looked at him and asked, is it really surrender this time? For Toripal, he is really uncomfortable, but it is undeniable that this guy is still a little capable. Of course, this is not the main reason Akainu wants to keep him. The main reason is that this guy exists. The next plan can be better implemented, otherwise he would have been killed long ago. Really, really? Toripal replied in horror. Akainu nodded, and secretly used the loyalty card to Toripal. Use loyalty card, target, Toripal, ding. The loyalty card is successfully used, and the target loyalty is improved. Seeing the effect of the loyalty card on Toripal, he nodded in satisfaction, which shows that Toripal really surrendered to him this time. However, this did not make him happy, on the contrary, he was more vigilant in his heart. This Toripal is definitely a timid guy, he can surrender under his own coercion, and naturally can surrender under the coercion of others. But he was not afraid, as long as he remained strong, with Toripal's guts, he probably wouldn't dare to betray him. Come on, take him for treatment. Akainu gave an order from the outside, and 2 marine soldiers came in immediately and carried Toripal out. Solving Toripal, Akainu turned his gaze to the 3 of Virgo, but before he could speak, someone spoke first. Diamante asked. If we don't agree, you will really kill us? Akainu said. Yes, if you agree, it proves that you are worthwhile, but if you don't agree, then I can only kill you. Anyway, for pirates like you, I don't know how many pirates I have killed. It doesn't make a difference if there are more of you. Well, I agree to surrender you, Diamante said. Use loyalty card, target, Diamante, ding. The loyalty card is successfully used, and the target loyalty is improved. Diamante is a very interesting person. If Doflamingo asked them to fight to the death in Mignon before, he would definitely execute it without hesitation. Even if he died in the final battle, he would not regret it a bit. But now, he doesn't want to die in such obscurity, or die in vain. Besides, there is nothing wrong with surrendering to Akainu. Basically, Akainu possesses what Doflamingo has, even better and stronger. The only difference is that they are better and stronger. The relationship between them cannot be the same as before with Doflamingo. Dover can give us status. What can you give us? The sharp voice came from Pika. Akainu said, I can give you your life, isn't that enough? Yes, this is what they need most at the moment. Pika's face turned blue and white, and he looked at Diamante, and finally gritted his teeth and replied, I am willing to surrender to you, but we are not slaves. If you want to, if I call us like slaves, even if I die, I won't succumb. Akainu was a little surprised. He didn't expect that Pika, who had a voice like a woman, had such a backbone, but he did not hesitate, nodded and said, You are just my subordinates, not slaves, and I will not use you as slaves. Those who call me will not even look for you at ordinary times. I will give you orders only when I need you. Virgo said, I already know what you want us to do, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, I'm not doing this kind of thing for the first time. I just hope you don't forget your words. Akainu said, How you treat me, I will naturally treat you, as long as you are loyal to me. I will treat you as my own people instead of suspicion of each other as I am now. Of course, I also know that you resent me and feel I force you to surrender. It is not fair, but this world is like this, there will never be fairness. Betraying me, you have only one end, and following me, I will take you to the height you expect. The three of Virgo were immediately infected by the haki emanating from Akainu. Although the loyalty and trust between them was only at the most pitiful elementary stage, the mentality of admiring the strong was the same for the three of them. An hour later, the four of Akainu and Virgo sat together again, but this time in Akainu's room. I explained your business, do you all understand? Akainu asked them. All four of Virgo nodded and replied, Well, keep it as it is, keep it the same, we understand what you mean. Akainu said, The four of you are smart people. It is the most convenient to communicate with smart people. If you threaten like before, I will not say more. I also know that you can't convince me now, or even exclude you. I may betray me in the future, but I can tell you that I am not afraid at all. Do you know why? Virgo said, You don't think we are a threat to you. Akainu said, You are right, you really do not pose a threat to me, but your ability to cultivate Doflamingo into the way you are now shows that your abilities are still outstanding. I need subordinates like you, and I hope you don't let me. I am disappointed. Virgo asked, Excuse me for asking, what is your purpose for doing this? Akainu's eyes suddenly bloomed with unprecedented brilliance, and he said solemnly, Stand on the top of this world and become the one who controls everything. The four of Virgo saw Akainu haki, looked at each other, and then knelt on one knee to Akainu at the same time. We are willing to surrender to you and help you reach the top of the world and become a true king. This world is like this, and the strong are respected. Although they were from Doflamingo at the moment, they were convinced by Akainu at this moment. They are the people of Akainu. But Akainu himself knows very well that this loyalty is not reliable. If one day he becomes a prisoner like Doflamingo today, he may be betrayed. He used all the remaining loyalty cards, but this time he only used it against one person, that was Virgo. Among the top cadres of the four Don Quixote family, he is most optimistic about Virgo. This person is very strong and calm. Perhaps because of the undercover in Marine, he has a kind of iron-blooded temperament, so Akainu is right, he naturally valued more than the other three. But obviously, Virgo's loyalty to him is relatively low. At the beginning, he only used a few loyalty cards to the ghost spiders, and the system had already prompted the loyalty to reach the highest level. However, he used 7 loyalty cards to Virgo. It didn't even reach the highest loyalty. Although it did not reach the highest level, Akainu could clearly see from Virgo's eyes that after using 7 loyalty cards, Virgo's gaze looked at him significantly different, with a respect and loyalty added to others. The three of them can't see it, which shows that the role of the loyalty card is still very effective. So far, he has used more than 30 loyalty cards, and the only one who made a mistake was that young Norvis, but he used a loyalty card against Norvis, so the opponent is not very loyal to him. Before, he felt that the loyalty card was not reliable, but now it seems that his guess is a little wrong. 1 or 2 loyalty cards are indeed not reliable, but after the number of loyalty cards used against the target reaches a certain level, I am afraid that the other party will be true, will not betray. It's a pity that the loyalty card is very useful, but so far, he has drawn tens of thousands of fear points, and he has only 30 loyalty cards in hand. He wants to promote a person who is not loyal to him. To the limit, I am afraid that at least 10 or more loyalty cards are required. In this way, the number of loyalty cards is too scarce. It is impossible for him to use the lottery to draw the loyalty cards for all his fear points. After all, this is too unsafe. Moreover, the loyalty card can only train extremely rare loyal subordinates. If people do not have the heart to submit to him, even the loyalty card will not have any effect. Therefore, if you want to truly develop your own power, rely on such things as the loyalty card. It's still impossible. Fortunately, Akainu never expected to rely on the loyalty card to train his subordinates. Before, he was only used to identify people who were genuinely loyal to him, as he did with Toripal before. After handling all this, Akainu relaxed. He didn't know what this event would eventually turn into, but according to his current arrangement, no matter what the result is, he is profitable. There is only one person who knows all of Akainu's plans, and that is Lucas, who has been by his side. Since confirming Lucas's absolute loyalty, Akainu has not only let him lead the army alone, but also in this secret plan. Take him all. Sakazuki Admiral, you just let them go like this, don't you really worry about it? Lucas knew all this, but he still didn't understand why Akainu was so confident. Akainu replied with a little instruction. It's up to people to do things. Lucas, you have to remember one thing. Sometimes you need to look forward and think carefully, but sometimes you don't need to think about it so much, just make sure to treat yourself. It will not be harmful, and it will be able to deal with the enemy, which is enough. Let's not talk about whether Doflamingo can be safe. Even if he is really safe, the 4 people can't all betray me, and even if betrayed, I can counter them, so I don't need to worry so much. Lucas seems to understand. His way of thinking is a little different from that of Akainu. He prefers to do something with certainty. In his opinion, it is risky to conquer the 4 people. It is better to just eliminate them. This will be $100. But he also knew that Akainu had his own ideas, so he didn't say much. He Vice Admiral led the troops to repair the base of the Lucas branch for 2 days. On the 3rd day, she took all the pirates of the Don Quixote family to leave and return to naval headquarters, and Lasana naturally followed along with her. Because Akainu was ordered by Sengoku to stay in North Blue, he naturally couldn't return to the headquarters before getting the order. However, although Akainu cannot return to the base, it does not mean that he has no other players. Sengoku demoted him to North Blue, which means that the battle between the two has become clear. Although it is not a tearing face, Akainu calculates it. There is no need to hesitate. Sending Doflamingo to naval headquarters this time is definitely not good news for Sengoku, because Doflamingo's identity makes him very jealous, and Doflamingo Master has the secret of celestial dragons, so it is not easy to dispose of Doflamingo. On the contrary, it is quite troublesome. There are 2 others, Corazon and Trafalgar Law. After Akainu rescued them, they didn't care about them. Because Op Fruit was gone, the 2 of them were of no use to him. As for conquering them, it's even more important. Impossible things. Corazon is the son of Sengoku. He and Sengoku are now 2 factions of naval headquarters. Although both factions are marine, they are no longer able to deal with them. They are rivals that need to compete with each other. Although Marine Admiral and Marshal Marine are competitors, it sounds very funny, but this is the fact that this situation exists. In fact, it is also tacitly approved in Marine. After all, Marine Admiral has 3, and it is impossible for every political opinion to be the same. Marshal Marine was also born from Marine Admiral, so this problem naturally also exists. It didn't appear in the past because after the new Marine Marshal took over, he would choose someone he trusted to become Admiral, but Akainu was not the person Sengoku preferred, and Akainu represented the interests of a large number of people, so between the 2 from the very beginning, there has been a gap, and unless one party takes the initiative to reconcile, this gap will continue to exist. This time Sengoku sent Akainu to North Blue to bring the fight between the 2 to the bright side. Of course, no matter how the 2 fight for marine power and political opinions, there is a prerequisite for them, that is, they will never endanger Marine's interests. In fact, for Akainu, he doesn't like this kind of calculated battle, but there is no way. Now he can't retreat. He already represents the interests of some people. Even if he wants to retire, those who support him will not. Maybe agree, not to mention that Akainu doesn't want to retreat. He firmly believes that only he can lead Marine further. Although Colossen and Luo were not directly useful to him, they could be used to attack Sengoku, the Op Fruit required by the world government, but they were used privately by Sengoku's son, who was still the rebellion of celestial dragons. Therefore, the world government will definitely be very dissatisfied with this. On the other hand, Trafalgar Law, who served Op Fruit, has no sense of belonging to Marine. After all, his hometown was destroyed by the world government and Marine, so he wanted Luo to join Marine, Even if Corazon was there, the possibility is almost zero. The only benefit is that Corazon is still alive, but don't forget that Corazon is alive because he can still benefit from Akainu, so Sengoku must accept it. This life-saving sentiment. Although it seems that Akainu didn't get any benefit from this trip, it was not the case. Not only did he wipe out the Don Quixote family that dominated North Blue, but he also got a part of Doflamingo's stronghold from the Toripal 4. Properly, you can get a lot of benefits. He has learned from Toripal and the others how wealthy the Don Quixote family is. It is definitely very good news to get a part of their wealth. Another point is that through this incident, he repaid the favor of Vice Admiral. Sometimes it was like this. Others are okay. But the debt of favor is the most difficult to pay. Now it is possible to pay back favor with such a simple method. Absolutely no loss. 1 month later, things were as expected by Akainu. Doflamingo didn't know how he negotiated with the people of the world government, and he was finally released by naval headquarters. Not only him, but the pirates under his command. Most of them were also released, and only a few pirates were sent to prison. It seems that Sengoku still has not withstood the pressure. Although Celestial Dragons does not directly participate in the management of the world government, the influence of this clan is really terrifying. Even 5 elders have to compromise. I thought that Doflamingo's disposal would take time, but he didn't expect to be released so quickly. This also made him wary of the Celestial Dragons. Sure enough, the world government, controlled by the king of Celestial Dragons, Yim, ended up being lean towards Celestial Dragons. This is also normal. If you change to Akainu, although you know that this is not a good thing, you will definitely be biased towards your own people. Being in North Blue, Akainu can hardly influence the situation of the Grand Line. He can only let people inform him of various information on time. After Doflamingo was released, he was established as 7 warlords of the sea by the world government, and all his staff were transferred to the first half of the Grand Line. He didn't want to stay in North Blue. Akainu, the enemy, he was really can't beat. After this battle, the strength of the Don Quixote family has been greatly weakened, but fortunately the team is still there. As long as Doflamingo continues to operate for a period of time, it is not impossible to recover from the past, or even go further. When Akainu stayed in North Blue, another thing happened in naval headquarters that shook the sea. Marine Admiral Zephyr removed the position of Admiral and replaced it with the newest Marine, Kuzan, codenamed Aokiji. Since then, Akainu, Kizaru, and Aokiji have officially gathered together. Akainu, Kizaru, and Aokiji have become a new generation of Marine Admiral. With their strength and age, they have been an admiral for more than 10 or 20 years, and there will be no problems at all. Yes, of course, this is in the absence of accidents. Another thing that surprised Akainu was also about 7 warlords of the sea. Not long ago, a pirate group formed by an ancient race appeared. The pirate group of the 9 Snake Island clan was all composed of female warriors. Pirates. As soon as the 9 snakes and pirates appeared, they immediately swept the first half of the Grand Line with extreme dominance, and clashed with Marine, repelled several waves of Marine, and even defeated a Marine Vice Admiral leader of warships. Because he understands the situation of the 9 Snakes Island, Sengoku does not want to destroy the 9 snakes and pirates, but wants Jawan, but the position of 7 warlords of the sea is gone. The Empress became Shichibukai's alternate. As a generation of Empress, how could Hancock tolerate this kind of thing? She was originally prepared not to accept it, but for some reason, she led her to fight with the current Shichibukai. What surprised Akainu even more was that the object Hancock chose was Hayward, and the Shichibukai, which should not have existed, was actually targeted. As for this kind of thing, naval headquarters will naturally not take care of it. Hayward was originally alone, but later Akainu let the group of slaves join him, which greatly improved his strength. Facing the 9 snakes and pirates, the 2 sides fought in the first half of the Grand Line without fear. 2 great pirates fighting for the identity of Shichibukai is indeed a very rare thing, but in the end they did not decide the victory or defeat, because the strength of both sides is not weak, and when they found that they could not get rid of each other, they both stopped tacitly. Although the pirate Empress did not defeat Shichibukai Hayward in this battle, it also made her famous and became a big pirate no weaker than Shichibukai, and because she did not become Shichibukai, she became more famous among pirates, except in addition, because Shichibukai's position is full, even if Sengoku wants to solicit, there is no other way but to violate the law with the pirate Empress for 3 chapters. In the next few years, the Grand Line was relatively calm, nothing much happened, and Akainu also stayed in North Blue, because of his identity in the North Blue Marine, no one refused, so, the entire North Blue Marine was basically his master. One thing is the same as in the anime. Doflamingo came to Dressrosa a year ago and took control of Dressrosa. Although it was 2 years later than in the comics, the result has not changed at all. As for why Akainu knew that such a thing would happen, but he still didn't stop it, firstly because he had his own plan, and secondly, he knew that even if he stopped it, it would be useless, so he didn't care about it and let it happen. With less than 1 month left before Sengoku's 5-year period, Akainu has been preparing to return to naval headquarters. According to the information he received from the headquarters, in the 5 years since he left, although his name has always been there, his power has basically been eroded by Kizaru and Aokiji. The current naval headquarters has basically become, after Sengoku's words, both Marine admirals support him, so his position is very strong. It seems that our Marshal Sengoku is really jealous of me, so he can't wait to hold the power in his palm. Does he really think that I will try to usurp the throne? He really underestimates me. Akainu couldn't help shaking his head. Compared to 5 years ago, he has changed a little bit. He is no longer as sharp as before, because he knows that it is because of his sharpness that Sengoku is so jealous of him and sent him to North Blue. So he has to learn more how to hide himself. Sakazuki Admiral, now naval headquarters, has become Sengoku's base camp, and you may not be happy if you go back. After several years of careful training by Akainu, Lucas has become an excellent general. He is very aware of Akainu's disadvantages now. After returning to naval headquarters at this time, he can only let Sengoku arrange. Akainu said faintly. What's the matter? He was Marshal Marine. He ordered me and commanded me. This is what it should be. I used to want to prove myself too much, so I acted very aggressively. Now I have learned this trick. In fact, he hadn't seen the situation clearly before. As the marshal appointed by the world government, Sengoku could not replace him in a short time no matter how good he was. Thinking of the plot in the anime, he only needs to develop his own power secretly and wait for that opportunity. As long as the time comes, he can replace it. Before that, he only needs to learn to be a human being with his tail sandwiched. It's just that, though, I can't even guarantee whether it can be done or not. He understands the truth, and he can speak, but whether it can be executed or not, even he himself has no confidence, because he has not compromised for so many years. He has always been strong and used to it. Hockey in his bones makes it difficult for him to be a man with his tail between his feet. Although Sengoku has consolidated the headquarters, he doesn't know that the place outside naval headquarters has been completely infiltrated. Sengoku is in full control of the headquarters, but he is not worried at all, because he has secretly taken down many branches outside the headquarters in the past few years. The high-level support is naturally far less than Sengoku, but the grassroots, he gets the support of Sengoku, is definitely not weaker than Sengoku, only stronger. One thing, it was really beyond my expectation. Corazon actually left naval headquarters with Trafalgar Law. The most surprising news he has received in recent years is that Corazon actually left naval headquarters with Trafalgar Law. Speaking of this matter, there are indeed some twists and turns. Akainu doesn't know exactly what happened, but according to his knowledge and guess, when they were brought to naval headquarters in Corazon, the matter about op fruit, Sengoku did not tell World Government 5 elders, but chose to hide it. After all, few people knew about op fruit. Because of Doflamingo's brother Ming's matter, 5 elders didn't get too entangled in the op fruit matter, and Doflamingo, of course, wouldn't leak it out, because he was going to train Luo to be what he wanted. Dedicated to him, so naturally it is impossible to leak. As for Akainu and Suru Vice Admiral doesn't know if he has said that. Anyway, Sengoku didn't mention this to him, as if he was not afraid that Akainu would poke it out. Not to mention, Sengoku's skills are really great. I was stunned to hide this matter for a few years, that is, before Doflamingo invaded Dressrosa. The CP organization of the world government didn't know how to get the news, and went to talk to naval headquarters. Sengoku dignitaries. Sengoku naturally doesn't want to make someone, but the CP0 organization is directly under the command of celestial dragons. Naturally, it doesn't put Sengoku in the eyes and prepares to snatch Trafalgar Law in private. In order not to embarrass Sengoku and for Luo's safety, Corazon broke away from naval headquarters and took Luo to escape. And Doflamingo, who has been paying attention to Corazon, naturally got the news at the first time. He immediately led people to snatch Luo, and in the end he was really chased by Corazon, and killed Corazon himself, but he didn't get Luo, because Luo used his fruit ability to escape. Everybody is not guilty, and he is guilty of his crimes. Corazon should have guessed that when Luo ate op fruit, he could not be accommodated by the world government and marine, but he naively thought that Sengoku could shelter him. It is also expected that they will end up in this way. Akainu was not surprised at the defeat of Corazon. Instead, he felt it was too late. Both the world government and celestial dragons knew the power of op fruit, so they wanted to get it. Okay, but Luo is only a teenager now, so how could he be able to stop the people of the world government? The only thing that Akainu cares about is that celestial dragons will definitely have an opinion on Sengoku because of this matter. Compared with world government and Doflamingo, Akainu doesn't really care about op fruit, because he doesn't know whether op fruit's ultimate ability is true or not, and there are heaven-defying ginseng fruits in his own system, so he doesn't worry about his lifespan at all. With his ability in systematic ginseng fruit, it is obviously no problem to live for hundreds of years, as long as he can continuously obtain ginseng fruit. It may even be possible for hundreds of years. In addition to Marine's information, Akainu is most concerned about the New World Pirate Four Emperors. During his stay in North Blue for several years, the situation in New World is actually not calm. There are many frictions between the Pirates' Four Emperors. The whole martial arts is staged, of course. The scale is not very large, but only a small part of the battle. The most active among them is Beast's Pirates. Kaido is indeed a great guy. He beat all the other three pirate emperors. He didn't take advantage of it. On the contrary, he lost a lot of money. But what's more weird is that in this under the circumstances, the development of Beast's pirates has not declined at all, but has slowly increased in power. Originally he thought that Jack was killed by him and Beast's pirates would miss the three plagues, but unexpectedly, the three plagues were still three plagues, but the drought disaster, Jack was replaced by another one, and Akainu had not even heard of one. Pirates who have passed. In addition to Beast's pirates, Charlotte Linlin of the Big Mom Pirates is also completing her goal step by step, building her cake island into a huge nation, gathering all races of the world, with great momentum. The Whitebeard pirate group is also not peaceful. Whitebeard himself rarely appears, but the pirate group under his command is often active in the New World. The thief worships and hates. The last four emperors, the red-haired Shanks, has changed the most, because he didn't know why a few years ago, he broke a hand in East Blue and became the only disabled person among the four emperors. When this incident spread to New World, it caused a great sensation. Don't look at the red-haired Shanks as the youngest among the New World four emperors, but when he became the pirate four emperors, he was actually relying on his strength to frighten the heroes, so even if he is the weakest among the four emperors, the youngest, but not many people dare to covet his position. But all this was before he broke his arm. Since he broke a hand, New World was turbulent that year, but all ambitious pirates aimed at the position of the red hair and challenged him. That year was the most turbulent time for red hair pirates, but the red-haired Shanks quickly used his unmatched power to tell everyone that even if he broke a hand, no one can bully him, but anyone who dares at that time. All the pirates who challenged him were killed by him, and New World was brutally suppressed. At least thousands of pirates died under red hair pirates. However, the most horrible thing about Shanks is that the beast Kaido hit the red hair pirates. Shanks fought Kaido in a crippled body. Few people know what the final result was, but since then, Kaido hasn't. After having trouble with red hair pirates, and since then, Shanks has an extra title. The most hockey man on the sea. This world seems to have the habit of giving others nicknames. Come out and mix. If there are not two nicknames, they are embarrassed to meet people. That is, after the battle between the red-haired Shanks and Kaido, the rest of the pirates realized that Shanks was not so easy to deal with, so no one dared to continue to provoke red hair pirates. After that, the reputation of the red-haired Shanks reached its peak, even higher than when he first became the New World Four Emperors. He was the first to be able to keep the position of the Pirate Four Emperors with a disabled body. The New World Pirate Four Emperors have basically mastered most of the New World, and the legend of the Pirate Four Emperors circulated throughout the Grand Line. In this regard, even the world government and naval headquarters have nothing to do, but secretly guard against it. With the Pirate Four Emperors, I dare not act rashly. It seems that the world government has also been forced to have no alternative. Knowing the danger of the Pirate Four Emperors, but still can only let it grow and develop. Among them, I am afraid that the Revolutionary Army has played a role in fueling the flames. If there is no Revolutionary Army, no matter how strong the New World Four Emperors are, the world government will not sit idly by. Akainu sighed in his heart that he didn't know how strong the foundation of the world government was, but he knew how strong naval headquarters was. It's not an exaggeration to say that if the forces are gathered together, regardless of the consequences, the strength of naval headquarters can definitely be two. The Pirate Emperor. Even the naval headquarters have this kind of strength. The world government must have a deeper background. They have no action. I am afraid that they are more afraid of the existence of the Revolutionary Army. After all, compared with the Pirates' Four Emperors who disturb the peace of New World, They want to subvert their world government. The Revolutionary Army with the power of celestial dragons is their greatest enemy. Although the Revolutionary Army hasn't done any major deeds in recent years, it's even more terrifying because the world government does not annihilate the Revolutionary Army in one day. The Revolutionary Army will become stronger and stronger, and the world will be suppressed by the celestial dragons in the world government. Those who cannot survive, as long as the opportunity comes, they will give it a go. This is why the world government is afraid of revolutionary dramas. Waiting to return to the headquarters, Akainu has been waiting for 5 years, so naturally he won't be in a hurry for this time. But when he was about to leave North Blue, he suddenly received an unexpected invitation. He didn't expect that this person would look for him at this time. What do you want to do when you are looking for me at this time? Despite the accident, Akainu decided to meet him in person. It's been a long time, Sakazuki. After arriving at the agreed place, Akainu met the person who wanted to meet him, Monkey D. Dragon. You, a leader of the Revolutionary Army, often invite me to see you. Are you really not afraid that I will do something with you? Seeing the dragon, Akainu was also very calm, and did not have the anger he imagined. After all, he was just for the golden pit in the sky. Akainu once thought that after seeing him, Akainu would definitely be furious. Ha ha. Long ha ha smiled and said, I haven't seen you in a few years, but you have changed a lot. If you want to do it to me, you have already done it to me instead of talking nonsense with me. Who can think that we are a revolutionary army? A Marine would have the opportunity to sit together and talk so smoothly. Indeed, if the meeting between the two of them is known to the outside world, it will definitely cause a huge disturbance. After all, one of them is Admiral of Headquarters and the other is the #1 enemy of the world government. What I didn't expect was that the dignified Marine Admiral would be distributed to North Blue for 5 years. It seems that Sengoku is very afraid of you. Well, since you know it's nonsense, don't say more, just tell your purpose. No matter how he and Sengoku don't deal with each other, it's also a matter between their Marines, and he doesn't want to discuss this with Dragon. It's still so direct. That's right, I came to you to discuss something important, Long said. Akainu said, let's talk. Long Dao. That's the same thing. Our revolutionary army needs your strength. Join us, Sakazuki. Akainu said, I think what I have said is very clear. No matter what your revolutionary army is, it is impossible for me to join you. Even if you give me your position, it is absolutely impossible. Once again rejected by Akainu, Long was still not angry, and calmly said, joining us is your best choice. As far as I know, you are greatly restricted in Marine. Sengoku doesn't seem to trust you, even though you have great abilities, but now you have no place in Marine, and it is difficult to develop. It seems that you are investigating me very carefully. You even know what situation I am in now, but you should know better that even if I am in a bad situation in Marine, it is definitely impossible to join your group of anti-thief. Akainu said disdainfully. Long Hahe smiled and said, really? I don't think so. Others don't know you, but I know you very well. I have been studying and observing you all these years, so I found a lot of interesting things. Akainu said, oh, what did you investigate? Long said, you are not as indifferent as you show it, and you have done a lot of things secretly, one of which is, I think if it is spread out, you Marine Admiral should be very difficult to keep. Akainu did not speak, and continued to listen to the dragon. The dragon saw that Akainu was so calm, so he said, a few years ago, the incident of the heavenly gold being robbed on the Grand Line, I always wondered how the group of pirates got the news, and then I learned that it was someone deliberately leaked the news to them, so they were able to rob the heavenly gold accurately, and that person should be you, Sakazuki. Akainu's face did not change at all, and said faintly, your imagination is really rich. Heavenly gold is the remuneration of world government celestial dragons. I am Admiral of Headquarters. How can I do such a thing? Then ask yourself. Longdao. Akainu asked, listen to your tone, are you threatening me with this? Long said, of course I don't want to threaten you, but sometimes in order to achieve the goal, I can only use some special means. Of course, although I already have certain evidence, I don't think that alone can threaten you. That means, do you have other hole cards? Akainu asked again. Long suddenly asked. The Hayward of 7 Warlords of the Sea, he should be yours? Akainu was surprised. He didn't understand how the dragon guessed this, but he was not nervous. Instead, he said, you said Shichibukai Hayward is mine? I have to admire your imagination. Long laughed and said, it's useless if you deny it. At first, I thought it was strange. Hayward was just a pirate. How could he have that kind of ability? This problem has been bothering me for a long time, until a few years ago. I guess the reason. The reason why Hayward leaked the whereabouts of the heavenly gold to us was because the group of pirates was out of control. You don't want to make the pirates cheap, so you'd rather give the heavenly gold to us. Akainu sneered and said, if I really get the heavenly gold, even if the pirates are better at it, I still have a way to get the heavenly gold back. Do you think I will give you the rebels? Long Hehe smiled and said, if it was before, I would definitely not understand it, but now I understand a little bit. Sakazuki, you have conqueror's haki, and you are absolutely unwilling to be inferior to others, so you are willing to make us cheap and give us the heavenly gold. Let us strengthen our strength to contain the world government. So, everyone in the world thinks you are just a marine admiral, but they don't know how amazing your ambition is. As I said back then, you and I are the same people, we all want to change the world, so as long as we together, there is absolutely no problem with overthrowing the world government. Akainu shook his head and said, I don't know what you are talking about. I am indeed a bit ambitious, but I just want to be Marine Marshal and don't want to be controlled by others. As for what you say, it's all rebellious. Long suddenly showed a mocking expression, and said, yes, of course I know that you want to become Marine Marshal, and have also launched actions for this. Now outside of Naval Headquarters, I don't know how much power you have mastered Marine. Akainu, who didn't put the dragon's words in his eyes before, now his pupils shrank and said coldly, it seems that although you have left Marine, there are still your people in Marine. Long did not refute, but said, you are not the only one who knows how to place spies on the enemy. Akainu said, the person who can detect my actions must be the senior Marine, and can still stare at me at any time. In addition to Marine Marshal Sengoku, the only person who can clearly investigate me is Marine Admiral, former Marine Admiral Zephyr. It is absolutely impossible to do such a thing. Garp has high prestige, but he is absolutely impossible to help you, and it is also impossible with Vice Admiral. Speaking of this, Akainu said coldly, if you think about it, there are not many people left. Kuzan, Paluzalino, which one of them will it be? Although the dragon's surface did not change, his heart was astonished, and he was shocked, but what Akainu said next made him jump in shock. I don't know if there are any of my people in 7 Warlords of the Sea, but I know one thing, Bartholomew Kuma, the great pirate, he should be a group of you rebels, right? Looking at the dragon who was still calm, Akainu also admired his endurance, but he knew that after his next sentence was said, this dragon would never be able to keep this kind of calm. Long, I can see that if I don't agree to cooperate with you today, you are likely to expose my affairs. Although none of what you said is true, I don't want to trouble you, so I can only stop you. How can we stop this? I think about it, there is only one way. Everyone has weaknesses. As long as I grasp your weaknesses and let you have the ability to go into the earth, I can only break your teeth and swallow blood. The cold light flickered in the dragon's eyes and asked, then what do you think is my weakness? Akainu stood up suddenly, looked at him with cold eyes, and said, your son, dragon. I advise you not to threaten me in the future. Otherwise you are far away in East Blue's sun. Will he survive? It's hard to say. Sakazuki, dare you? Long couldn't keep calm anymore, he also stood up. An astonishing haki erupted from the dragon. Akainu was unwilling to show weakness, the tiger stared, the same haki resorted to it. The haki of the two shattered everything around them, that is, they still have some restraint. Otherwise this house may not be able to withstand the haki of both of them. When the two clashed fiercely with haki, Akainu looked even more disdainful. What do you think I dare not? Dragon, you are really annoying, I don't want to contact you anymore, but you still want to threaten me once or twice, get rid of me, you really think I didn't take you the way? Don't say it's your son. I know more than you think. It angered me, definitely more unwise than you angered 5 elders and celestial dragons. Long's fists clenched tightly together, his heart was extremely angry, and he asked in a cold voice, are you following my father? There is no one who knows the whereabouts of Luffy except Garp, but he feels that Garp will never expose Luffy's whereabouts. Although Sakazuki is powerful, it is not so easy to track Garp, but if it is not Garp, how could Sakazuki know that Luffy was in East Blue? Although Akainu only talked about East Blue and didn't say the specific location, Long didn't dare to gamble at all, and couldn't afford to gamble. And Akainu also said that he knows more. He doesn't know what Akainu said more is, but he knows that it will definitely not be the answer he wants to hear. Akainu said, did I follow your father is not the problem, I just want to know, are you sure you want to tear your face with me? The dragon's face was pale, and he wanted to kill Akainu in his heart, but he didn't dare to move at all, because he was not sure about defeating Akainu. If he really angered Akainu, he was really afraid that Akainu would make him regret it. Things of a lifetime. At the same time, he really regretted it. He thought he had investigated Akainu clearly enough, but he did not expect that Akainu's power was beyond his imagination, and he knew so clearly about such secret things as his son. I have always regarded you as an opponent, and I know you as much as possible, but now it seems that I still underestimate you. Dragon's vigilance against Akainu has increased to a new level. In fact, when he met with Akainu this time, he was 90% sure that he could persuade Akainu. Even if he couldn't persuade Akainu, he would be able to make Akainu coerced by him. But now, the situation of the two of them has reversed. Instead, under Akainu's intimidation, Akainu took the fate of the gate. The Dragonfoot stared at Akainu for several minutes, and finally sighed and said, "Sakazuki, this time I lost. I promise you that I will not say a word about you, forever. I won't say it, and I won't let the people under me leak out. Are you satisfied?" To be able to become the leader of the revolutionary army against celestial dragons, the dragon spirit is naturally not comparable to ordinary people. He just hesitated for a while, and immediately gave in, and made a guarantee. Akainu's eyes flashed coldly and said, "Not enough." He was really annoyed by the dragon. This guy really didn't care about the relationship between the two of them at the beginning. In order to achieve his goal, he threatened him one after another, and even wanted to kill him. He was not people who can suffer, so naturally they are not willing to expose it easily. It was also because he was annoyed that he would threaten him with Luffy, because it was the most effective. Otherwise, he was really reluctant to threaten the life of a child. "Then what do you want?" Long could only hold down the anger in his heart and asked. Akainu said, "It's very simple. I want to know, who is your undercover agent in naval headquarters?" Although when I watched anime before, there have been speculations that Kizaru is the undercover of the Revolutionary Army, but it has never been confirmed, so he is really curious whether Kizaru is the undercover of the Revolutionary Army. If so, how will he respond? If not, how would he respond? Long frowned and said, "You change the question." Akainu looked at him for a while, and then said, "I want you to owe me a favor, the kind that cannot be denied, and I can also guarantee that I will never tell anyone else everything I know." Long hesitated for a while before nodding his agreement. He knew that if he disagreed, maybe Akainu would make a more difficult request, and he was really worried about this. If Akainu leaked everything he knew, yes. For their revolutionary army, it was definitely a fatal blow. "Okay, I agree." Looking at the back of Akainu's departure, Long sighed first. He really realized what it means to steal chickens and lose rice. This time he came with confidence and was about to hit Akainu by surprise. Who knows, in the end I was caught off guard by others. I didn't get the slightest benefit. Instead, I posted a love affair. But this depression only lasted for a short while, and then he smiled relaxedly. Although stealing chicken won't lose the rice this time, it is not without gain. At least one thing is certain. Sakazuki really has no loyalty to the world government. As long as the time is right, he might do it. Even better than me. It's a pity that Akainu can't be brought to his camp, but Akainu's idea is confirmed, which is also very good, because he has another friend on the road against the world government, and the enemy's enemy is a friend. That is, Akainu doesn't know what the dragon is thinking. Otherwise he will certainly sneer. He and the dragon are destined to be impossible to be friends. Long, this guy is really wicked, but after this warning, he will definitely not come to me again. Just as the dragon always wanted to recruit him and use him, he also wanted to use the dragon, but he just wanted to use the dragon to attract the attention of the world government, and didn't want to get involved with the dragon. The dragon was the only accident that Akainu had before leaving North Blue. After everything in North Blue was arranged, he received an order from Naval Headquarters Sengoku to return him to Naval Headquarters. In fact, Akainu knows very well that if it is possible, Sengoku would like to keep him in North Blue, but this is impossible. After all, he is one of Marine's 3 admiral, representing Marine's highest combat power, and is to deal with the New World Sea. The thief 4 emperors and the important existence of the pirates that deter the world, and his prestige in the Marine is also very high. Sengoku can hold him down for a while, but absolutely can't hold him down. When Akainu returned to the headquarters, he brought only the people who came with him 5 years ago. As for Lucas, he continued to stay in North Blue to help him control Marine in North Blue and help him do other things. The first thing to return to Naval Headquarters is to meet with Marine Marshal Sengoku. Marshal Sengoku. Seeing Sengoku again, Akainu's heart was not angry, but very calm. Sengoku nodded to Akainu. When he saw Akainu's calm face, he was slightly surprised. He thought that when he met again, Akainu would be somewhat emotional, but now it seems that Akainu's castle is obviously strengthened. Quite a few, but he didn't even show his emotions at all. Sengoku wouldn't be naive to think that Akainu really didn't have any opinion on him. After all, he demoted Akainu to North Blue, and it was 5 years at a time. How many 5 years are there in his life? What's more, Akainu is in the prime of life. Thinking about it in another way, even if it is him, it is impossible for him to have no opinion at all. Akainu has an opinion, but he did not show it. While surprised, he was also a little wary. Even if Akainu has the mind, it is difficult to show it. Sakazuki, I haven't seen you in 5 years. You haven't changed much. I have heard about North Blue. You have done very well. What surprised Sengoku was that Akainu's appearance was the same as it was 5 years ago. 5 years have left no traces on him. Compared to Akainu, he is much older. As for North Blue, he has been paying attention. Since Akainu arrived in North Blue, he eliminated the Don Quixote family, and then attacked the large pirate groups in North Blue. In recent years, North Blue has become a world in the world. In the calmest place, the number of pirates dropped sharply, all thanks to Akainu. Of course, Akainu will not tell Sengoku that the reason why his appearance remains the same is because he has eaten the ginseng fruit of the system, plus he has been exercising for a long time, and his physique is excellent, so he looks relatively young, but in fact, he is already 4 years old. It's no wonder that Sengoku will be surprised if he is in his mid-teens, but he can maintain his 30s and 40s. Marshal Sengoku, this is what I should do. Akainu was humble first, and then asked. I just returned to the headquarters to report today. I wonder if Marshal Sengoku has anything to do with me? Sengoku said, you have just returned from North Blue, so take a break for a while, and there will be something for you to do soon. Akainu nodded and said, well, I know, then I will leave first. Watching Akainu leave the office, Sengoku sighed faintly, Sakazuki, don't blame me, if I can, I actually don't want to suppress you. But your strategy and thinking are really not suitable for Marine, it is too dangerous, if you become the next marshal, Marine has no future. In fact, an excellent talent like Akainu, to put it in the New World, is definitely a 4 Emperors level figure, but in Marine, Sengoku had to press him because he was watching come. Akainu's thoughts were too dangerous, and he was too impulsive to do things. Akainu led Marine, he was really not at ease at all. Everyone wants to find an heir to inherit their own ideas. In Sengoku's view, Akainu is not such a person, so he does not want to choose Akainu, but suppresses Akainu. But this is not a simple matter. Because of this matter, he has been under a lot of pressure. There are many hawks in Marine who support Akainu. In addition, the current army commander is also general. Akainu regarded himself as his own, so he had no choice but to give such an order when everyone did not react, and forcibly suppressed Akainu for 5 years. Now that 5 years have passed, what he is most worried about is that Akainu will stir up the trouble after returning to the headquarters. Although he is confident that he has controlled the naval headquarters, if Akainu has other thoughts, it is still difficult to stop it. It was just that for the next month, Sengoku, who had been staring at Akainu, was very surprised, because Akainu didn't do anything and just stayed in his own territory. He didn't take the initiative to contact anyone except for others who visited him. This really surprised Sengoku. The imaginary counterattack did not appear, which made him think that Akainu didn't want to continue fighting with him, but even so, he did not relax. When Akainu came back, it was relatively low-key, but it quickly spread throughout naval headquarters. Some new Marine soldiers were not familiar with Akainu, but for those veterans, when they learned that Akainu returned to naval headquarters, they were all excited. It caused a great shock in naval headquarters, and they went to Akainu's residence to congratulate them. The spontaneous welcome ceremony held by the soldiers shocked many people in Marine. Sengoku, who has been following, saw that Akainu had left the headquarters for 5 years. After returning, he was still shocked so much. His heart was even more jealous. He knew that Akainu holds a high status in the minds of many Marine soldiers, except for him and Garp. Now, the most popular among naval headquarters is probably Akainu. Even Kizaru and Aokiji are not as good as Akainu. Sakazuki, I haven't seen you in a few years, you still have the same style. Doberman was very happy to see Akainu come back. He and Akainu are the same faction, so now that Akainu comes back, the pressure on him has been relieved a lot. Akainu said, I have been away for a few years, I have been working hard for you, Doberman. Because he was transferred to North Blue, Akainu did not transfer the ghost spiders and others back to the headquarters. Among the people remaining in the headquarters, Doberman had the highest status, and Doberman has been following his requirements for several years. To do things, it makes him very satisfied. Doberman smiled bitterly. It's not hard work, but it's been targeted. There is no way. Everyone knows the relationship between Doberman and Akainu. The military investigation department under his command was originally given to Akainu by Sengoku, and then Akainu gave it to him. After Akainu left 5 years ago, his position was naturally shaken, that is, his outstanding ability, coupled with not bad prestige, so Sengoku did not change his position, but even so, because it is not Sengoku's direct line of generals, in naval headquarters, he also suffered a lot of difficulties. Although he couldn't do anything to others, he was more difficult to do than before. In the past, the Military Investigation Department was a feared existence for Marine. However, in the past few years, because there was no Akainu suppression and Doberman alone supported it, the deterrence force was obviously insufficient. This also led to the increasing power of the Military Investigation Department. Little, so Doberman's life was not very comfortable. But Doberman's ability is indeed very powerful. Even in this situation, he can still complete the things Akainu confessed to him step by step. This is also what Akainu values, him. Now that you just came back, Marshal Sengoku didn't arrange specific affairs for you. It seems that he still fears you, Doberman said. Akainu said, this is normal. If it was me, I would do it. Are you not in a hurry? Doberman asked puzzledly. Akainu said, don't worry, now the sea is calm. Marine has completely abandoned the New World site. Ordinary pirates don't need Marine Admiral. Naturally, my importance cannot be reflected at this time. Doberman nodded and said, what you said makes sense. Marine Admiral doesn't need you to go out in person for ordinary things. What's more, there are still Paluzolino and Kuzan. This is also Marshal Sengoku's daring to suppress your confidence. Indeed, if it were not for the existence of two admirals, Kizaru and Aokiji, Sengoku would definitely have to rely on Akainu to deter the pirates, but with Kizaru and Aokiji, the dependence on Akainu would naturally be much less. Akainu said, sooner or later there will be a battle between Marine and 4 emperors, so I am not in a hurry. There are still a few years away from the top war, so he is really not in a hurry. He only needs to do one thing now, and that is to ensure that the story of the pirate can develop as in the comics. As long as there is a top war, then the Marine that comes down must be controlled by him. Akainu, who stayed at naval headquarters, basically didn't move around. He didn't even see his disciple Asana, because Lasana had already followed Zhuanyuan Rear Admiral. No, it's now Vice Admiral, Zhuanyuan. New World. Lasana is also Marine Colonel now. Compared to the Smoker and Hina ranks with her at the same time, Lisana is the best supernova in Marine in these years. After all, there are not many Logia-capable people in the world. She can reach this level. Although most of it comes from her own talent and hard work, Snowfruit also has a certain effect. Lasana in New World has been in the limelight in the past 2 years. The 2 most famous battles were that she defeated one of the 4 desert stars of the Big Mom Pirates, and the other was that she defeated a captain-level figure of the Whitebeard Pirates. Akainu is not surprised at Lasana's achievement, because Lasana is his disciple. He knows that Lasana is no worse than others in terms of talent and hard work, plus it would be strange if the Logia Snowfruit ability she possessed could not reach this level. Akainu originally thought that Sengoku would be idle forever, but he didn't expect that after a period of time, Sengoku would take the initiative to find him and send him a task. The Pirate Empress. It's interesting. Akainu really did not expect that what Sengoku asked him to do was actually related to the Pirate Empress. Because of his appearance, Shichibukai had one more Hayward. The Pirate Empress Boa Hancock, who debuted relatively late, naturally had no chance. Become Shichibukai. Although they fought for Shichibukai's position before, they did not decide the winner, so Sengoku still retained the identity of Hayward, and only had 3 chapters with the Pirate Empress, so that she would not persecute the civilians, and Marine would not. Because of their pirate group, they went to attack the 9 Snake Island clan. But what Sengoku didn't expect was that Boa Hancock was totally different from ordinary people. She agreed on the face of it, but she still did things in her own way. She didn't put Marine in her eyes. Sengoku always had a headache for her repeated provocations. Because this Pirate Empress is not an ordinary person, as a woman, she has Conqueror's Haki, and she is also very strong, and with the 9 Snake Warriors behind her, Sengoku does not want to tear her face. It's just that the Pirate Empress Hancock has become more and more arrogant recently. This time, he attacked Marine's warship and turned the Marine of a warship into stone, which made Sengoku couldn't bear it anymore. However, the strength of the pirates of the 9 Snakes is not weak, and the Empress of the Pirates is even stronger. The average Marine Vice Admiral may not be able to beat her, but now Marine Admiral Aokiji and Kizaru are not there, and he does not want to be with the 9 Snakes. Shima tore his face, so he thought about it, and finally decided to hand this hot potato into Akainu's hands. Akainu is notoriously domineering towards pirates, and the Pirate Empress is also notoriously domineering. When 2 self-dominant people meet together, One can imagine what will happen, but Sengoku still decided to let Akainu go. The meaning of it is self-evident. Akainu didn't think so much, he was just surprised that Sengoku asked him to solve the Pirate Empress, and he didn't say how to do it. He just asked him to recruit the Pirate Empress into 7 warlords of the sea as much as possible. But the problem is that 7 warlords of the sea has only 7 positions, and they are all gathered now. Even if the Pirate Empress is recruited, she can only be a substitute unless one of the 7 people is removed. Is this possible? If it is not possible, let the Pirate Empress become Shichibukai's alternate. It is even more impossible. Let alone the Pirate Empress is inherently domineering. Even if it is a general pirate, it is absolutely impossible to become Shichibukai's alternate. This is not an admiral candidate. It's totally insulting. But Akainu really didn't think much about it. In the anime of One Piece, the popularity of the One Piece Empress is definitely a leverage, but to be honest, he doesn't care about it. Whether she is the most beautiful emperor, she can't change it. She is the identity of a pirate. If she dares to do evil so unscrupulously, he will never show mercy. Akainu's trip was quite low-key. He only took 100 people in a warship. Compared with the previous scale of hundreds of thousands of people, this time it was very small. After knowing the location of the Hydra pirates, Akainu immediately drove the warship in that direction. In a certain area of the first half of the Grand Line, the well-known 9 Snakes and pirates on the sea have just wiped out a pirate group and are preparing to return to 9 Snakes. The female soldiers on the pirate ship are all very happy. Although they had set up a pirate group in 9 Snake Island before, they have never reached the present level, because their female emperor's tyrannical dominance made them majestic and fearless. Even Marine and the others dared to fight, the pirates even more. I don't know how much it has been destroyed, so the female soldiers of the entire pirate group all adore and respect Boa Hancock. Because the Pirate Empress did not become Shichibukai, her bounty is naturally impossible to withdraw. Now her bounty has reached 245 million Baileys. She is a very famous female pirate on the Grand Line and has been a lot. The good people think that the most beautiful woman on the sea is sought after by countless pirates. Master Snake G. Master Snake G. The boat of the 9 snakes and pirates who returned to the voyage suddenly heard an urgent cry. The woman who was called the Snake G by the female pirates was naturally the famous pirate empress in the sea, Boa Hancock. Who dares to disturb the concubine's body rest? A loud and violent female voice sounded, and then I saw that the boat became lively, and the female pirates gathered together and walked out of the cabin, a tall, extremely beautiful woman. This woman has long black hair, a princess-like hairstyle, dark blue eyes, her skin is as white as snow, a pair of phoenix eyes are like all kinds of brilliance in it, she has a waist that can be gripped, she has a tall figure, and she is beautiful and exquisite. Cheeks, a peerless face that people will never forget at a glance, really is a rare beauty in the world. No matter from any aspect, this woman can't pick out any flaws, as if it is the most perfect work created by the creator. This kind of beauty can only be seen from a distance, not close, and it makes people dare not have the slightest blasphemous heart. However, since the appearance of this beautiful woman, she has always raised her head and her face is full of arrogance, as if she doesn't put everything in the world in her eyes, especially the arc of smile that evokes the corner of her mouth. Fascinated. What is even more fascinating is the temperament that she exudes from all over her body, noble, cold, unattainable, obsessive and domineering. It is hard to imagine that a woman's temperament can be so complicated, especially the amazing aura around her, which is even more shocking than most men. Before you saw this woman, you could not imagine that there would be such a beauty in the world. If it was just a beautiful face, what is more commendable is that this woman has the temperament that an ordinary woman does not have, and this kind of high coldness is for men. In other words, it is definitely a fatal temptation, which makes people eager to conquer. This woman is one of the most famous female pirates on the Grand Line, the Pirate Queen, Boa Hancock. Who interrupted the concubine's rest? If you can't give the concubine a perfect answer, the concubine will throw her into the sea to feed the fish. The Pirate Empress, after Boa Hancock appeared, her nostrils were upturned, she looked very arrogant and very impatient. When her fierce gaze swept everyone, no one dared to look at her, all of them bowed their heads. Master Snake G. Yes, it's me. A female pirate stood up fearfully and tremblingly. Although Hancock was their empress and captain, most people feared her more than respect, because Hancock would never be merciless even if he treated her. A sturdy snake's tail suddenly appeared and rolled the female soldier into the air. Behind Hancock, I saw a very tall and ugly woman with long green hair. She said, "Dare to interrupt my sister's rest, do you want to die?" This woman is the sister of the pirate Empress Hancock, and the tall and stout woman on the other side is also the sister of Hancock. Although the surrounding female fighters on the island of Nine Snake were worried about this person, no one dared to persuade her from the majesty of Hancock. No, I didn't intend to interrupt Master Snake G's rest, but to report something important. The female soldier cried nervously. Hancock's second sister Boya Sandersonia asked loudly, "What is important? Say it quickly." Seeing Hancock also looked impatient, the female soldier was even more frightened, fearing that Hancock would actually do something to her, and hurriedly shouted, "Master Snake G, Marine's warship appeared in front of her, as if it came for us." Marine warship. As soon as these words came out, all the women on the pirate ship were stunned, even the three sisters of Hancock. Boya Sandersonia immediately asked, "You said that a marine warship appeared and came towards us?" The captured female soldier nodded vigorously and said, "Yes, they are already closer to us." Hancock frowned and waved his hand, and said, "Let her put her down. Are those marine guys here again for concubines? Didn't you know that they were all turned into stones last time? I even dared to come and find my concubine. This time the concubine will kill them all. Oh, although it is not good to kill, but the concubine is so beautiful, it must be forgiven." At the beginning, I was very arrogant, but at the end of the talk, suddenly the conversation turned and became full of charm. Even if there were some women on the boat, they were all captured when they saw Hancock's proud and confident expression. Look at the worship and admiration in Hancock's eyes. The one who knows Hancock best is naturally her two younger sisters. Her two younger sisters said, "Sister, you turned the marine of that warship into stone before. The warship that came this time must come to us for revenge." 2 days ago, the members of the Pirates of the Nine Snakes encountered a warship of the Marine branch. The other party saw that the Pirates of the Nine Snakes had looted the passing ships. Naturally, they could not be regarded as not seeing them, so they stepped forward to stop them. But this time they hit the iron plate. Hancock didn't care about Marine or Marine. When he saw Marine dare to stop her, he immediately became angry. Without saying anything, he started directly, and finally killed all the soldiers on that warship. Turned into stone, without her relief, those people will naturally have a dead end in the end. It has only been more than a day, and Marine will send someone to look for them, but Hancock is not nervous at all. Come and seek revenge from the concubine. Hancock suddenly covered his mouth and laughed, just as he looked back and smiled all the time. The sixth palace has no color. This sentence can be used to describe Hancock at this time. Even though the soldiers in the Nine Snakes and Pirates are all women, there are actually many beautiful women among them, but they stand by Hancock's side. No matter how beautiful they are completely concealed. The concubine body is the most beautiful woman in the world. Who would dare to attack the concubine body? For Hancock, who is extremely narcissistic, her two sisters have no choice but to order the soldiers on the ship to gather. Since Marine dares to come to them, it means that the people who came this time must be the same as before. The marine wastes I encountered were different, so I must not be careless. Let everyone be ready. If Marine dares to do something, we will wipe them all out. Although Hancock's two sisters did not have the narcissism and contempt of life as their sisters, they were absolutely cruel and cruel masters. They were already preparing to annihilate Marine before seeing anyone coming. Sakazuki Admiral, the pirate ship ahead is the pirate ship of the Nine Snakes Pirates. Their pirate ship is different from ordinary pirate ships. Even in the calm belt, they can sail freely, because they can control sea snakes and use sea snakes to drive boats for them, so it is really difficult for ordinary people to catch up with them. On the warship far away from the Pirates of the Nine Snakes, Akainu stood on the bow, watching the pirate ship getting closer and closer. Beside him, a young Colonel Marine introduced him. This time when Akainu went to sea, Akainu did not bring his own private army. The soldiers on this warship were all formed temporarily, and this young colonel introduced to him was the person with the highest rank besides Akainu this time, named Woe Harmon. This Warden Harmon heard that Akainu was going to take people to encircle the Nine Snakes and Pirates, so he took the initiative to ask Ying and transferred to Akainu's subordinates to open the way for Akainu. For Warden, who was able to become Colonel Marine in his early 30s, Akainu naturally understood his mind and wanted to rely on him. However, Akainu had decided to act in a low-key manner at naval headquarters and would naturally not give any response, even on warships. In the process of driving, this warden expressed his attitude in various ways, but he did not show the slightest consent. As a native Marineford Army second generation, Warden Harmon's father used to be Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral, so he was able to join Marine easily and developed very well, but unfortunately, his father was a few years ago he died in the battle with the pirates, so he became an ordinary general without a backer. In Naval Headquarters, if a person wants to get ahead, there are only two ways. One is that the backer is strong and hard enough, and the other is that the talent is good enough, just like the original Akainu, Kizaru and Aokiji. Besides, staying alive seniority is also a method, but this is obviously not a method of promotion for young people. Basically, the naval headquarters soldiers have heard about Akainu and Marine Marshal Sengoku. Although many ordinary soldiers admire Akainu, most of them are not willing to take refuge in Akainu. They are willing to take refuge in Kizaru and Aokiji, because in their opinion, refuge in Kizaru and Aokiji is undoubtedly more promising than taking refuge in Akainu. But Warden thought differently from others. He was not reconciled to just being an inconspicuous little role, because his position as a colonel was already very good in the eyes of ordinary soldiers, but he really took refuge under Kizaru or Aokiji. It's just an inconspicuous little character. There are more than a dozen naval headquarters in Vice Admiral alone. This does not include major branches and hidden ones. Vice Admiral has so many, not to mention Rear Admiral. It is basically no problem to double it. Commodore, it really can't be forgotten, so his Marine Colonel, at best, is just a small role in the eyes of Marine big shots. The icing on the cake is easy, but it is difficult to send charcoal in the snow. He feels that Akainu is at a disadvantage now. If he takes refuge in Akainu, he will definitely be taken seriously. But he did not expect that Akainu would be completely indifferent to his flattery, which made him very depressed. But even if he was depressed, he did not dare to show it. He still patiently explained to Akainu, and expressed his thoughts from time to time, hoping that Akainu would be satisfied with him. A small Colonel Marine, Akainu really didn't pay attention to it, and after his observation, this colonel named Warden Harmon really didn't shine. Of course, he was most dissatisfied. The other's flattery attitude. He has already been so obvious. If he is a smart person, he will definitely not be entangled anymore. It still looks crisp, but this guy, completely faceless, just swayed in front of Akainu, which is annoying. So, don't say that Akainu doesn't want to accept his subordinates. Even if he does, he doesn't want to accept him. Who knows what the purpose of this guy is? Colonel Marine, there are a lot of people like this among naval headquarters. 9 Snakes Pirates, Pirate Empress, Boa Hancock. Akainu read Hancock's name silently in his heart, and he knew more about the Pirate Empress than others. Let's go straight, don't attack yet, he ordered. Yes, Sakazuki Admiral. On the pirate ship of the 9 Snake Pirates, a group of female soldiers gathered under the leadership of Boa Hancock. Master Snake Heim, Marine's warship is approaching, should we attack right away? The female pirate in charge of the pirate ship's artillery attack asked loudly. Hancock said immediately. Don't attack first. I have to see what the Marines are doing. I hope that the people who come this time can be a little capable, otherwise it would be meaningless to play. Although the beautiful face was murderous, it was still full of coquettish and intoxicating. Soon, the warship and the pirate ship made contact and stopped at a distance from each other. Hancock didn't speak first. It was Warden Harmon on the warship. After receiving Akainu's instructions, he walked forward triumphantly, facing the female soldiers of the 9 Snakes Pirates, and shouted loudly, "Stand up. Everyone in the 9 Snake Pirates is listening. This is the Naval Headquarters Sakazuki Admiral warship. Stop the ship immediately, otherwise we will attack." Hearing wardens yelling, Akainu couldn't help but frowned. They didn't move at all, and they asked them to stop the boat. He also reported his name as soon as he came up, and he said so confidently that people who didn't know thought he was Akainu. The female soldiers of the 9 Snake Pirates didn't pay attention to this warship at all, but after hearing Warden's words, many people's expressions changed. Marine Admiral Sakazuki, isn't that Akainu? Although Akainu was transferred to North Blue before the 9 Snakes and Pirates went to sea, after all, Akainu was a man who crossed the Grand Line at the beginning. The pirates' 4 emperors have fought, and the number of pirates killed is countless. In the pirate world, its deterrence and reputation are definitely the highest among all Marines. The 9 Snakes and Pirates naturally knew who Akainu was, so they were surprised when they heard Akainu's name. "Sister, it's Marine Admiral Akainu. I heard that this person is very good, what shall we do?" Both of Hancock's younger sisters became very nervous. Although they didn't put Marine in their eyes before, they were also human. The name Marine Admiral Akainu has been spread for more than 10 years. Generation. Hancock frowned at first, but soon snorted proudly, and said, "What about Marine Admiral Akainu? How could a concubine be afraid of a stinky man?" If you say what kind of person is so arrogant, it must be Hancock now. Since childhood, her psychological shadow has changed too much and formed a personality defect, so even if she faces Marine Admiral, she will not have the slightest fear. "Don't care about the concubine, Marine Admiral, immediately get out of the concubine. Otherwise the concubine will kill you all. Sakazuki Admiral, it seems that the other party is not ready to surrender? In normal times, Warden would definitely not dare to speak to a large group of big pirates like the 9 snake pirates, but now there is Akainu by his side, so he is full of confidence, especially seeing Hancock so arrogant, he can only ask Akainu. Akainu didn't even look at him, and directly ordered, "You stay on the boat." Warden was taken aback, and asked, "What about you?" As soon as he asked, he saw Akainu leaping up from the warship, flying into the air like a cannonball, and then continuously moving in the air on moonwalk, and quickly came to the ship of the pirates of the 9 snakes. Landed on their boat. "Master Snake G, be careful." Seeing that someone on Marine's warship rushed directly to their pirate ship, all the female pirates exclaimed, and then quickly surrounded the pirate Empress Hancock, staring vigilantly at the sudden appearance of Akainu. In the sight of all the female pirates, a middle-aged man in his 30s and 40s appeared in front of them, with a tall and burly figure and a cold and arrogant face. Just by looking at the other party, he could feel tremendous pressure. "It's so bold to come directly to our boat." Both of Hancock's sisters shouted in anger, then stood up and shouted at Akainu, "Who are you? How dare you get on our boat?" Hancock is more domineering than her 2 sisters, she said directly, "Whoever he is, the concubine will kill him now." While she was talking, she had already started to move, and she jumped to the front of Akainu, her proud figure twirled in the air, and her long, slender legs kicked directly at Akainu. At the moment when Hancock was about to kick Akainu, a cloud of magma suddenly appeared in front of Akainu. After Hancock's foot touched the magma, his brow wrinkled slightly. But the next moment, a scene that surprised Akainu happened and saw his magma. It was quickly petrified, turned into a stone and fell. Magma. After Hancock landed, he looked at Akainu in surprise. Her ability is to petrify people or objects. He was very surprised by Akainu's manipulation of magma just now. "You are Marine Admiral, Akainu?" Akainu was also surprised to look at the beautiful woman in front of him, with a flash of surprise in his eyes. He had to admit that the woman in front of him was definitely the most beautiful of all the women he had ever seen. Not only that she had a pretty face, it is the integration of all aspects, which can only be described in the word, perfect. With her ability just now, coupled with this face, Akainu has been able to determine her identity. "You are the pirate empress, Boa Hancock." Hancock exclaimed dissatisfiedly. "The concubine asked you first, so you dare to ask the concubine back?" Even after confirming the identity of Akainu, she was still not afraid at all, and her tone was still so overbearing. Akainu frowned. Although he admits that this woman is beautiful, what does it have to do with him? He is not the kind of person who can't walk when he sees a woman, not to mention that the woman in front of him is beautiful, but his heart is definitely a snake Sasori's heart. "Boa Hancock, I will not talk nonsense with you. You turned our marine soldiers into stone. More than a day has passed. I want you to untie their petrification immediately, otherwise don't blame me for being rude to you," Akainu said coldly, shouted. Hancock smiled disdainfully when she heard the words. She stroked her hair and put on a very attractive posture, and said, "Let the concubine help you Marine to petrify? It's so funny, they can be turned into stone by the concubine. It is their honor." Hearing Hancock's words, Akainu couldn't help feeling disgusted. He knew that Hancock had been abused by celestial dragons when he was a child, but even so, it was not the reason for her to develop the habit now. Snatching merchant ships at will and slaying marine soldiers, just these 2 guilts are enough to impel you, Boa Hancock. For the sake of Sengoku's face, I told you this, don't know how to praise. Hancock raised his head arrogantly, and turned his head behind him, facing the sky, with one hand on his hips and one hand pointing at Akainu, disdainfully said, "You tiny human being, the concubine is the most beautiful in the world. People, even if your concubine kills all the people in the world, you won't be guilty, and you can be forgiven. If you dare to threaten your concubine, you are a treason." Seeing Hancock's exaggerated posture, Akainu, who was originally very angry, was suddenly full of black lines, and she was even more sure that the pirate empress was really sick, and she was not too sick. Talking to her was like playing the piano to the donkey. This kind of neurotic woman, it's useless to tell her more. It's useless to say anything to Hancock, a woman who is a little nervous. Only by deterring her with the most aggressive and domineering means can it have a little effect. In fact, Akainu didn't want to be so troublesome, but before coming, Sengoku told him that he would try not to kill the 9 snakes and pirates, and it is best to subdue them and let them join 7 warlords of the sea. But with regard to the character of Boa Hancock, who can convince her? Does it make him stupid like Luffy in the original book? Although he thinks he is the protagonist, he doesn't think he has the so-called aura of the protagonist, and he is really not interested in women like the Pirate Empress. But Sengoku is Marine Marshal after all, he still wants to save face, so he is going to catch the Pirate Empress and her party first, and let Hancock rescue those Marine soldiers who were petrified. As for the final disposal, it will be handed over to Sengoku to have a headache. Bar. Ask one last time, do you not do what I said? Hancock was about to speak, and suddenly her sister came over, and Sandersonia whispered in her ear. Sister, this Akainu is not an ordinary person, and the naval headquarters is so powerful that it is not good for us to oppose them. If it was someone else, she would definitely not say that, but it was Marine Admiral Akainu, and they really didn't want to tear their faces with Akainu. After all, there were too many rumors about Akainu in the ocean. Although they are confident about Hancock's strength, they are not arrogant enough to be invincible. What's more, the giants such as naval headquarters and world government are not something they can handle on the island of 9 snakes. Hancock glanced at his sister fiercely, and yelled, "Shut up, my concubine knows what to do." Seeing Hancock's anger, the others dared not speak. Hancock still looked arrogant, and said to Akainu, "It's not impossible to want your concubine body to dispel the petrification of those stinky men. As long as you can defeat the concubine body, maybe the concubine body will change your mind slightly." Humph. Akainu snorted disdainfully, and said, "Don't be so troublesome. When I catch you, everything will be easy to say." As he spoke, he suddenly took a step forward and was about to make a move. The pirates of the 9 snake pirates saw that Akainu was about to do something. They all rushed out, holding weapons one by one, and killed Akainu. Akainu glanced at it and found that most of the women in this group of women used armament haki. He was also very surprised, although he knew that the 9 snake clan was a clan of ancient warriors with a long heritage. When devil fruit did not spread to the sea, they have inherited haki. Haki, which is difficult to learn from outsiders, is the most common ability in 9 Snake Island. Facing these women rushing over, Akainu snorted coldly, and an astonishing haki burst out of him and swept the entire pirate ship. All the pirates were within haki's attack range. Boom, boom, boom. They were hitting the female pirates, and they fell down one by one, making the others stopped in shock. This is... In an instant, the female pirates of 9 Snake Island looked at Akainu incredible, even the 3 sisters of Hancock. For Hydra Island, where haki has been passed down for countless years, they are no strangers to haki, so seeing the fall of their companions, they immediately realized that Akainu used Conqueror's haki, but Conqueror's haki is one of a million people. It's hard to have a special physique in 9 Snake Island, and only their female Emperor Hancock has this kind of haki. The 3 Hancock sisters were also shocked, and the youngest sister was even more surprised. Haki, who is stronger than her sister, how can this Marine be so strong? Hancock, the person who owns Conqueror's haki, has the most say. Akainu's Conqueror's haki is really beyond her expectations. The other party is more skilled and powerful than she used. She was very arrogant before, and her face was dignified at this time. Ever since she became the Empress of 9 Snake Island and awakened Conqueror's haki, Hancock has always felt that she is the most noble, but now she sees Akainu, whose haki is stronger than her. Naturally, he is vigilant. On Marine's warship, Wharton waited for Marine to see Akainu rushing onto the enemy ship alone. They were all surprised. They hadn't fought pirates before, but they had never seen this before. With any sign, he rushed to the enemy ship alone, so I was very surprised. But this astonishment only lasted for a moment, because this was Marine Admiral Akainu, who was not a strong man they could imagine, and for this level of power, it shouldn't be a surprise to do anything. I don't know if Sakazuki Admiral can tame the women of the 9 snakes and pirates. Akainu's prestige in Marine is very high, but even Colonel Wharton, he has not really seen Akainu hands-on, so there is still no fixed number in his heart for the strength of Akainu, but the 9 snake pirates have not a small reputation in recent years. The Pirate Empress is a very powerful sea pirate in the first half of the Grand Line, so he hesitated, wondering if Akainu can kill the 9 snakes and pirates alone. Let everyone get ready. If Sakazuki Admiral needs our support, we must act immediately. All of you trash, retreat to the concubine. Seeing the female soldiers under her command were all stunned, not knowing if they should go, Hancock suddenly snorted in dissatisfaction, and then she walked out alone and stood in front of Akainu. For the first person she met, who also owns Conqueror's haki, Hancock would naturally not have any contempt. Hancock was not polite. He moved his body and took the lead and rushed to Akainu very fast. I have to say that Hancock is really fast. Even among the opponents Akainu has encountered in the past, it is considered the fastest. One of the people. Of course, This is mainly related to the fact that people in this world pay attention to strength. Facing Hancock's attack, Akainu naturally wouldn't shrink back and slammed his fist directly. The magma fist covered armament hockey and hit Hancock's leg. Even if Hancock used his abilities, she was surprised that her ability is only to petrify the magma on the surface of Akainu's fist. When she wants to activate the ability again, the terrifying force of Akainu's magma fist has already smashed her into the air. Hancock turned a few times in the air before falling down, and saw a red mark on her calf. This was the mark of the magma burn. When she saw the mark on her leg, she lost control. You hurt the most beautiful woman in the world. Unforgivable, unforgivable. Hancock yelled like crazy, as if it was what happened to Akainu. It was obviously in the battle, but because of a small trace, even the female pirates of the 9 Snakes and pirates were all staring at each other. Their empress is really different from normal people. Quiet. Akainu had already experienced Hancock's neuroticism, so naturally he didn't want to listen to her crazy nonsense anymore. He scammed him without any fancy movements, and just blasted it with a pure punch. Boom. The board of the ship was smashed. Akainu did not show any mercy because Hancock was a woman. Instead, he was irritated by Hancock's neurotic madness, so he hated it even more. He continued to smash Hancock into the air, the sea of the 9 Snakes pirates. The thief ship had long been smashed into a mess. Although Hancock owns Conqueror's hockey, her strength is actually not very strong. Of course, this is compared with Akainu. For most people in the sea, Hancock's strength is already very powerful, more than 200 million. A bounty can prove her strength. Akainu fought with her for a few minutes, pressing her from start to finish, mainly because her abilities are not effective at Akainu. Akainu is not tempted at all, and the petrochemical abilities of other attacks are also blocked by magma. Petrochemical Akainu. Not convinced. Akainu shouted loudly at Hancock like a god or devil. Ah! Hancock let out a weird scream, and rushed to Akainu desperately. She was beaten by Akainu and was about to lose her mind, because she had already suffered multiple scars from magma. For the narcissistic Hancock, it made her angry more than killing her. She hates Akainu, but her strength really cannot pose a threat to Akainu. Now she is at most similar to Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral. Whether she can beat Akainu's ghost spiders is still hard to say. So let alone fight with Akainu. If Sengoku hadn't told him not to kill Hancock and needed her to save a ship of marine soldiers, he would really kill Hancock just now instead of like now I want to convince her like this. Master Snake G. The female pirates of the 9 Snake pirates saw Hancock being beaten so badly for the first time, so many of them never recovered and watched this scene in disbelief until Hancock was kicked away by Akainu again. They all shouted angrily. Elder sister. The female pirates headed by Hancock's 2 younger sisters all rushed to Akainu angrily, and when Akainu saw these female pirates, a cold light flashed in his eyes. He needed Hancock to live, but he didn't need these pirates to live. He didn't know if these female pirates were as vicious as Hancock, but since they were pirates, they must be prepared to die. Boom boom. The result of no mercy is that those female pirates basically did not have the ability to catch his punch. They came to fight as many as they were. They were a little bit strong. After being smashed by Akainu, they still had a breath, but the relatively weak ones were directly killed by Akainu. Hit it with one punch. It has only been 10 minutes since Akainu got on the ship, but the pirate ship of the pirates of the 9 Snakes had burned up, and the female pirates had suffered heavy casualties. Walton on the nearby warship watched this scene dumbfounded. Not only him, but the other marine soldiers were also dumbfounded, all shocked by what Akainu did. I have long heard that this Sakazuki admiral is famously iron-blooded and cold. I didn't think so much before, but now it seems that I am afraid that it is even more cruel than the legend. The most beautiful pirate empress on the sea in the legend was beaten by him. Too cruel, too cruel. Wharton kept talking to himself. Because he was so close, he naturally saw what was happening on the boat. Akainu showed no mercy to women, including beauties. How hard-hearted would it be to do this? It's no wonder that this adult can stand on the top of the sea. With this method, how many people can have it? Dealing with the female pirates on 9 Snake Island is easier than dealing with Hancock. Within a few minutes, all the female pirates were brought down by him, including the 2 younger sisters of Hancock, who were slightly more capable. They all looked like a pile of mud. Fell on the pirate boat. My concubine fights with you. When Hancock encountered this situation in the sea for a few years, even when he fought with Hayward, one of Shichibukai, she did not fight like this. She was completely beaten by Akainu and lost her mind. The desperate woman is indeed fierce. Hancock has completely given up on Perry. She is in a fighting state of fighting for her life, Even if she is hit by Akainu, she will bite a piece of Akainu's flesh and blood. What a troublesome woman. Akainu has never encountered any kind of enemy, but a stalker like Hancock, a woman whose nails and hair were used as weapons at the end, is really the first time he has encountered it, and he even didn't notice it for a while. Hancock used his nails to scratch a bloodstain on his left face, which means he reacted quickly, otherwise Hancock might actually petrify his face. One hand clasped Hancock's hands back. For the average person, Hancock's figure is relatively tall, but in front of Akainu, it is not comparable. Akainu can grab her two wrists with one hand and let her with no effort at all. He held her down again, kneeling with his legs on the deck. Not convinced. Elder sister. Master Snake G. Seeing that Hancock was beaten so badly by Akainu, the remaining pirates of the 9 snake pirates were all very excited, but they couldn't even keep themselves, let alone support Hancock. Ignoring the others, Akainu stared at Hancock closely, and asked again, "I'm not convinced." Hancock now has a disheveled hair, many wounds on his body, and a purple one-piece dress that is broken in many places. Being held by Akainu, she can't see her beauty at all. Hancock screamed abruptly, and a tyrannical haki burst out of her. Standing in front of her, Akainu felt the hurricane hit, and the justice coat had no wind, but his body did not move at all, just in his eyes. Surprise. Conqueror's haki. I really didn't expect such a woman to have Conqueror's haki, and under my oppression, it actually improved. The female pirates around who were still alive were all injured. They were rushed by Hancock and Haki, and they all fainted. Only a few female pirates and her 2 younger sisters were still awake. No matter how strong Haki is, it will not help if there is no strong strength. Akainu snorted coldly. Hancock was not the first person he met to have Conqueror's haki. Her Conqueror's haki was only inferior among the opponents he met, just like Doflamingo, like Whitebeard and Redhead. It's so far away that it can't be compared with him. Damn Marine. Under Akainu's surprised gaze, Hancock screamed, then twisted his wrist forcefully, and the sound of an obvious fracture sounded. Hancock broke his arms forcibly, turned his body, and kicked his foot. Akainu. Akainu raised his brows, not wanting to be kicked by Hancock, so he took a step back, which gave Hancock a chance to breathe and opened a few meters away. I saw you with admiration. Even though he hated Hancock's personality extremely, Akainu was really surprised to see Hancock was able to break free of his control with this self-harming behavior, but he still didn't pay attention to Hancock. Hancock forcibly twisted his arms and broke free of Akainu's control. The intense pain almost made her faint, but the tough will supported her and kept her awake, but the sweat on her face showed it. How painful she is. Boa Hancock, do you still want to fight? If you want to fight, I won't be as merciful as I was just now. Akainu defeated the 9 snakes pirates with his own strength, but don't think that this was his full strength. The strength he showed just now was not even used for 80%. Hancock really has lost her mind, just thinking about tearing Akainu to pieces, because Akainu's abuse of him just now reminded her of the most wanted scene in her life, and the fear also made her become ruthless. Fear score from Boa Hancock, plus 587. Fear score from Boya Sandersonia, plus 216. Fear score from Boya Marigo, plus 354, from. In just a moment, Akainu received a large amount of fear from the remaining pirates of the 9 snake pirates. Even Boa Hancock, who had not given up his resistance, provided him with more fear. Elder sister. Both of Hancock's younger sisters yelled to Hancock nervously. They wanted to persuade Hancock to give up. After all, they could see that their sister was not Akainu's opponent at all. Akainu's strength exceeded their expectations, and this people are cruel and merciless, and if they continue to resist, they may all be killed. But how could Hancock be stopped now? Even if his hands were twisted, he still didn't give up. He yelled and killed Akainu. As a result, he was slapped back by Akainu's backhand and patted her directly. A slap print suddenly appeared on the beautiful cheek on his face. This slap once again blinded Hancock, but no matter how she struggled, she was suppressed by Akainu's backhand, and she was mercilessly hitting Hancock's vitals. Hancock was like a ball, and Akainu kept flying. Not to mention the female soldiers of the 9 snakes pirates, even the marine soldiers on the warship can't stand it anymore. The other party is a beauty anyway, and she is also known as the most beautiful woman in the sea, but in Akainu's eyes, it's even a little bit. There is no Lianxiang Xiyu, how can I come here? From. Akainu frowned, because this time it was marine soldiers from the warship who provided him with fear points. As for why he could tell, because the 9 snakes and pirates now only have these female pirates. They had already provided fear points before, and newcomers appeared, naturally from marine. Not convinced. He pushed Hancock to the ground again, and then he grabbed Hancock by the neck, lifted Hancock up, and asked. After lifting Hancock up, he was surprised to find that Hancock had fainted unexpectedly. So unbeaten. Although he shot Hancock many times, Hancock is also someone who has armament hockey, and he has a good number of shots. Compared with Doflamingo a few years ago, he is much lighter, so Hancock seems to be miserable, but he is not life-threatening. As for her fainting, Akainu estimated that there was also a part of the angry mood. Elder sister. Hancock's two sisters also saw Hancock fainted, so they both yelled eagerly, but they were both seriously injured by Akainu, and they were hard to protect themselves, let alone rescue Hancock. Akainu ignored them and told Warden on the warship, "What are you still watching there? Get out of here." It is not too difficult for Akainu to destroy the 9 snakes and pirates. The strongest Hancock among them is equivalent to Marine Vice Admiral, and it is completely effortless to fight. After hearing Akainu's order, Warden dared not delay, and immediately led the soldiers to board the pirate regiment. When they boarded the pirate ship and saw the fallen female pirates, their heart was shaken even more. Horrified at Akainu. Akainu said, "Handcuff all of them and bring them to the warship." Yes. The marine soldiers acted quickly and took up all the pirates who were still alive, while Akainu watched. After a while, Akainu's face changed suddenly, and the 2 marine soldiers were shot flying with 2 slaps, which scared a group of people around. I saw Akainu looking at the 2 soldiers who had been shot down with an angry face, and asked, "Who gave you the courage to do such a thing under my nose?" Fear score from Nords. +247. From. All the soldiers were attracted by Akainu's roar, and Warden Harmon ran over nervously and saw the 2 soldiers. They were his subordinates, so his expression changed and he immediately asked, "Sakazuki Admiral, what is going on?" Akainu snorted coldly, "Ask yourself." Warden immediately asked the 2 of them. Both of them lowered their heads in shame. They didn't dare to speak at all, but the person next to them said it. It turns out that when the 2 soldiers were escorting the female pirates of the 9 Snakes pirates, they actually moved their hands and feet at the female pirates, and they happened to be seen by Akainu. Although Akainu hated the pirates, even the female pirates. Thief, he is not soft when he starts, but even if he is cruel and ruthless, he is also a man with a bottom line. If these soldiers go into battle to kill the enemy and kill these female pirates, even if they kill them wrongly, he will only punish them at best, not as angry as they are now, but the 2 men actually acted on the beautiful female pirates, which makes he was so angry that he shot the 2 people down and even showed murderous intent on his body. Warden was also very shocked. He didn't expect his subordinates to have done such a stupid thing, and it was still in front of Sakazuki, which made him feel very embarrassed. He immediately roared, "Come here, take them both down. After I bring back naval headquarters, I will greet them well." Sakazuki Admiral, what do you think? He thought that his punishment would satisfy Akainu, but Akainu was still expressionless, and he was even more disdainful of Warden in his heart. This guy said a few words, but he didn't mention any punishment. What he thought of assaulting him naturally is very clear. He didn't look down on this Walton Harmon, and now he is even more dissatisfied with him. If it weren't for the fact that he needs to keep a low profile now, he would have slapped him in the air a long time ago. The shortcomings of strength and talent can still be made up, but soldiers with such a lack of virtue are the most unaccustomed to him. According to his idea, it is polite not to shoot them to death on the spot. They are your people. What you do with you is your business. You don't need to ask me. Akainu waved his hand, and then said coldly, "This is the first time. If there is another one, no matter who it is, I won't be merciful." Yes, yes. Warden Harmon kept nodding his head.